to a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer.
That's all right. It's not like I have a contract with them or anything. They'll get over it, but... I need to start getting that retainer fee. That's what I need. All you have to do is type in P.O. Box and it does it automatically. Are any of you guys big fans of Jason Q? Have a little quiz for you tonight. A question maybe you could pose to him. No, I saw where, I guess I saw a clip where Phil had mentioned him about him having an affair, and we talked about this before on the show, about him dating a married woman while she was still married. A new button for when you I got a new button for when you guys get on my nerves. Oh man, that timing wasn't very good there. Could have been better. It is what it is. Roll that intro.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Burr.
Double penetration
I think
over
that's
there
just
and
incredible. I've watched a few
That's right.
episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her
You'll
coochie
see
loves
why
that.
I got Bart on the mind.
Never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it
Get 'em,
as you
Thomas.
can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
I had to go get some water. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Will Bart. This is Cold Beer Confessional. I do have a new button for when you guys get on my nerves. It looks something like this. It's completely silent, but deadly. Oh, no. See what I did there? See what I did there? Ah, that'll put you back in your place. That'll put you back in your place. It's just a... oh, God, no. No, I'm trying to get the AI to the AI voice to say the power of Christ compels you to give little Bart a little kiss when the video goes off. So we'll see if we can get that worked out. I gotta get the audio file first. So give little Bart a little kiss. Yeah, we're gonna go over Phil's video. It's not super long, so we should be able to do it. And even though I started late or whatever, we'll go through that. See what happens. But before we get started, I asked earlier. Hold on. Let me connect my phone. First of all, I had to go get some water. I was out of water. It's not often I run out of water, but it was this time. Couple things. Update with my nephew and the baby. So there's that. Look how little that baby is, dude, compared to their hands and stuff. They got to do some hands-on stuff and some hands-on time and hanging out with their baby. It's still doing well, as far as I know. So no bad news updates. So keep the baby in your prayers. It was born like 3 months early or something. It's pretty tiny. She was just starting her third trimester, or getting close to her third trimester. So there you go. And then I asked about Jason Q. The reason I asked about Jason Q is I heard Phil talk about him or whatever. And then I had been wandering around the internet, and I found something kind of interesting. Jason Q has all those totes like behind him, like his background is like all totes and stuff. And he keeps all those totes like stacked up. And I know what's in some of them, but some of them I don't. So if you guys could help me out, maybe get this to Jason Q. If maybe he could answer, what are in these totes? Is this a tote full of flags? This one looks like books, but what is this one? Flags? That's weird that he keeps a tote with flags and a tote with books. That's crazy. I don't know what it is. This is obviously a stool. I can see that, right? It's got like a ring for your feet to go on. And this one looks like flags, definitely, in like plastic packages. And this one looks like maybe it's like manuals or books. Or say it's hard to tell from the angle because he's kind of laying down. Got the old one finger ringer on there. It is, he may be packing totes, but that's the only thing he's packing. I'll tell you that much. And very bad angles. Like some of the angles are like down the hole. You gotta take pretty pictures. You don't want, some of the angles are like down the hole. I don't know what the fuck that's about. I've never had a woman ask me for like give me the old periscope. I want a ring around my eye when I look at it. I don't know. It's very strange. Anyways, if you can ask Jason Q what's in his totes, I'd appreciate it. He seems to be very active on Snapchat. Maybe that's where you'll find him out. I don't know. I don't keep up with him too much. I heard he was on the Wife Beaten Line all male review today. So maybe that has something to do with it. Anyways, thank you guys for down the hatch. Up Periscope. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. If you want to support the show, go to coldbeer.fun, coldbeer.fund, where you can see me erupting from a nice young Asian man's butthole. Bert may or may not be there, but you can see me. Jason D now. But you can check me out there, and all my links are there. So Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, Facebook, TikTok, Rumble, Discord, and Bovada. Bovada is an affiliate link. I must inform you of that. Legally required to. Also, there's the donation links are on the side. If you want to contribute, there's Buy Me a Coffee where you can send a text-based message. Join our Patreon for extra content. Gun and Bombers, the old donation link. Dono Clip to send audio or video. I know some people like y'all are nuts. Some people were like, hey, 10 seconds isn't long enough, or 15 seconds, or whatever it is. They're thinking about putting in a 30-second feature and possibly a 60-second feature. They asked me about it today, and I said 30 seconds would be awesome. 60 seconds might be too long. I don't know. But 30 seconds would be great. But that's Dono Clip. You send an audio or video message. And then the one that's been used the most often, a lot of you guys are using this yellow button down at the very bottom that just says donate. That's a private button. Like, I find out about it. Thank you for the donations, by the way. I get an email, but it doesn't pop up on the screen. It doesn't say your name. It doesn't read your message. It just comes to me. And I usually say, I saw somebody donated, thank you. But I usually don't give out names or read the messages out loud or whatever. That's the very bottom button. That one's been used quite a bit lately. All right. Still got a cough. We got some cough drops. I got some water. We'll get through it. Hopefully no more penises pop up. There are about 7 others, but hopefully no more penises pop up. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. You never can tell. Sometimes you're just along for the ride. Sometimes you just it's somebody else's world and you're just living in it, right? Someone else's world and you're just living in it. Quantumfilms.philgodlewski.live. That's the link. Let's see if it works. I hope so. I can't watch the choppy ass version that fucking Phil tried to play. But it's 8K. But your internet barely fucking plays it, bro. It's getting old. Uh-oh. Bert snuck up on us again. Sorry about that. Excuse moi. Sorry, the granny alert went off. All right, let's get it. Let's see what happens. It's called Beyond the Noise. I'm surprised he didn't name it something with a PH in it, right? Wouldn't that have been better? Whatever.
There's
Is it going to be this
hearing hack anyone can.
My God, just give me the Rumble link, bro.
Did you know that?
Dude, I've noticed even people in Phil's chat, like when they first join chat, they'll be like, "What the fuck is that guy doing with the spoons on his ear?" Never mind. I already found it. I don't want to watch it there. I want to watch it here. Here we go. Here we go. Anyways, what the fuck is that guy doing with the spoons? The other day, people were joining Phil's chat when I didn't even have the video playing. I was just looking at the live chat, and like 3 or 4 people come in. They're like, "Why do I always get that guy with the spoons? What the fuck is he doing?" And who knows? I haven't been able to figure it out yet. Do we have audio? Oh, it was muted. Oh, there we go. Look out. Feature film. A Quantum Films production about a man who came in his pants twice already. Produced by Phil Godlewski. If I had to guess, I saw a clip of the All Mail Review arguing about whether he was driving and using his phone to record in 8K. He paid somebody, right? This isn't Phil's shtick, right? He barely gets a live stream done. He just went to a production. I don't know who. I'm sure you could probably find out. But he just went to it's called a white label service. So basically, even though they might be called, Joe's video production, they'll put it out under whatever you want, like Quantum Films or Big Dick Daddy's Films or whatever the fuck you want, right? And they'll make it look like you produced it. And if you pay enough money, you get it faster, better quality, whatever. Like he got a film crew. Joe DeAndrea, Beyond the Noise, Truth or Lies. I probably missed some of those things. Joe DeAndrea was his original defense attorney, right? In the criminal defense attorney in the 2010 case. We've seen his name a lot in the court documents. Oh, by the way, you guys will be happy that the last, 20 minutes of my show last night where we covered all the people talking shit about us, they were very excited that I covered that. That's all they talked about all morning. It was great. I'm like, I'm not even fucking awake yet, and y'all are over here complaining about me. It's awesome. Okay, we got some stock footage, a Nick Alvear special. Who is that? The anonymous mask and a hacker guy?
Phil, I'm the captain now, bitch.
Uh-oh.
I'm the fucking captain. I'm the fucking captain.
You look like Captain Lazy Eye, bro.
Captain bitch.
Captain Tiny Fingers. More stock footage.
In today's digital age, words traverse continents in mere seconds.
This isn't bad stock footage here. That's pretty cool. Whatever changing, like shooting across the city like their messages or internet, and then you got markers like a map, and then like these beams, like as if they were broadcasting.
The power to uplift or annihilate
Stock
reputations
image for a podcast.
lies within our grasp. This is the true story
Emotes.
of Phil Good.
Oh God, there he is. I was wondering if he was going to dress professional. Looks like he went with the old hoodie and let me show you my koi pond tattoo with I haven't shaved in 3 months, but I want you to believe I haven't shaved in 3 days. Perfect.
Godlewski, a man caught in the crossfire of both online defamation and beyond.
God, they found it hilarious. Whoever the fuck they were, they thought that was funny as shit, didn't they? Did you see that?
In mere seconds, the power to uplift or annihilate reputations lies within.
I took that. It's hard to tell with Phil. It really is hard to tell with Phil. I took that as a joke. Like if I said, get ready for my next video that comes out, it's going to be streaming everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Facebook, Netflix, fucking TBS. Like that would be a joke. And that's the way I would say that. It's hard to tell with Phil because his ego's so inflated. It's hard to tell whether that was a joke or he really was like, oh, it'll be on Netflix. I don't fucking know. It's hard to tell.
In our grasp. This is the true story.
It went with the
of
bow
Phil
tie.
Godlewski,
That's right.
A man caught in the crossfire of both online.
Look how funny they think it is. They thought it's fucking hilarious. What do you think you type in to get this stock footage? Urban youths under bridge. What do you think you search to get that? Laughing at meme.
Defamation and beyond. Standing firm in his quest.
What was that deep breath, Phil? It's like he's getting his chest ready. What? Say it with your chest, Phil. We can see a little bit more here. So here is his Mac. He said this is like a $25,000 computer. It definitely can be. You can build a $25,000 computer on their website. He's using a cheap ass fucking webcam, and it's also, is that a phone holder attached to his webcam? We usually don't get to see this angle. And then he's using a Yeti. He got rid of his $5,000 microphone and $10,000 thing it plugs. Shit, my hands are dirty. I've been working on the Jeep. Put new shocks on it today. His $5,000 microphone and his $10,000 thing it plugs into, and he's using a $250 Yeti.
Quest for truth amidst the battle.
I think the blackout edition's more expensive. It might be like $300 or $350, to be honest with you. The blackout edition, because they're usually silver or black with like accent, but all black is more expensive.
Field of social awakening, fake media,
Eyeball.
defamatory billboards, and more. Phil's ordeal began.
That looks like me waiting on Phil's lawsuit. You guys remember that video where I went and checked my fucking post office box?
With accusations from his past, allegations
Theater.
that were proven false, and have again spiraled into the light of public judgment.
Wait till you get home. She gonna be like, damn, shit, my God.
Glad you're back and feeling better. You were missed. Thank you very much. I'm still not 100%. I hurt my voice a little bit last night. It was about gone by the time I was done reading and shit. But this morning, every morning I get up and it hurts and I cough shit up, but it's getting less each morning. So I don't know. I wish it would go away.
From a fraudulent voice and
Hey, Nick Alvear film. That was weird, right? I know that's probably a clip from Nick's film,
defamatory billboards
but to have that at the first of your film, almost like you're giving Nick credit.
and more. Phil's ordeal began with accusations from his past, allegations that were proven false, and have
Proven
again
false.
spiraled into the light of public judgment. From a fraudulent voice and calculated hit piece that is far removed.
Yeah, it says in the Nick Alvear film, from a fraudulent voice, calculated piece of propaganda or whatever. And yes, his wall's not complete. Those wall sections are made to where they have like an irregular pattern on the end, so you plug the next one in and the next one in and the next one in, and that way it's not like a. They used to make like almost like a paneling that looked like bricks, like just like flat, like the same thickness as wood paneling, like 1/8 inch paneling, but it had a square seam on it because of the 4x8 sheet. So now the stuff it's like 3D, so it feels like real brick. Sometimes they even put like almost like a ceramic, like liquid coating on them before they paint them, and it'll even feel sort of like real big, like real hollow brick, but the outside will feel like it. But the way it's made is to where the next piece joins in, and when you join those two, it doesn't leave a seam straight down. They're pretty cool. I don't know if I'd use one for a backdrop. I might use one for like a house I was flipping. But I don't know if I'd use one for a backdrop.
Moved from the facts of his past.
Oh my God,
Despite resolving
that guy's
these
angry.
matters legally long ago. New defamatory efforts have cast shadows over his story, where he must move.
Beyond the noise, truth over lies. Have you guys ever been to court? When you like go in and I don't know how many people's even been to fucking court, but it's a lot more laid back than I thought it would be. When I got in trouble for drugs, it was like the judge was there. We were all sitting in like the gallery, but it was almost like an assembly line. They call one person up, ask them a few questions. All right, see you next time. Make sure you check when we set your next date or whatever. But the DA, who was making the deals and stuff, plus like a probation representative or whatever, were just like sitting at a table kind of beside the judge. So when I went up and they called my name, it was just me. I didn't have a lawyer, nobody with me or whatever. I went up, they called my name. The judge said, well, have you spoken to the DA at all yet? And I'm like, no. And he's like, okay. So like, he's like, go over to that table, and he called someone else's name. But like the DA was just sitting at the table, and he asked me like a couple like qualifying questions, like name, last 4 years social or something like that, date of birth. And then he's like, he already had it all printed up. He's like, well, we're going to do this, if you accept. It was like probation. And I asked if I could get expungement, because this was like the first big thing on my record as an adult. Like I had gotten in trouble as a minor, but basically as long as you don't get in too much trouble as a minor, your shit resets at 18. But this was like after I was 18. This is my first shit as an adult. So I asked about expungement, and he just fucking wrote it in. Expungement, if I completed they deferred my sentence of like, I don't know, 5 years or something. They deferred the sentence, gave me a year probation with the option to do probation remotely, because I did tell them I was working out of town or planning on working out of town. I'd only done one out of town job at this point, and they deferred the sentencing, and then just kind of wrote in expungement. And then he hands that to the judge, and they tell me to go sit back down. And then by the time I get back around, the judge calls me up again, goes over everything, asks me if I'm satisfied with it. And I was like, yeah. And he hands it back to the DA, and then it's just really informal, I guess. Because the few times I've been to court, like in Irwin, the judge was a pretty big dick, which is his courtroom, right? That was the judges I was telling you, like, you can't have a hat on, obviously. You can't have your phone in there. You can't have any holes in your pants. Like, they don't care if you wear blue jeans, because not everybody has like business clothes. But if you have like holes in your pants, they'll like fucking throw you out. If you come back again, they'll hold you in contempt. But this was like really, really informal, especially for like, it wasn't traffic. Like I was there for like a possession with intent to distribute. I already had the drugs like separated into smaller batches instead of all in one bottle. I had baggies. They had pulled like my phone records, and I had been selling them and buying them, and like, I don't know, like it wasn't no little thing. It wasn't huge either. I wasn't like a fucking cartel member. But it was a couple hundred pills. So it wasn't like a small thing. It was just really informal. It was just like, I don't know, kind of just walk around and talk to everybody. And then you get back up there. And then I did tell the judge that I was planning on joining the military, which I ended up working out of town first. But
445
oh my goodness,
gifted 5 subs.
Thank you very much for the gifted subscriptions. I appreciate that. Anyways, I don't know how I got sidetracked on court, but that's how my court went. Thank you for the gifted subs.
Beyond the noise, to bring clarity for the sake of himself and his family.
I don't think so. I've thought about this a lot. And, you know, I don't think anybody goes after Phil on video, maybe, as hard as I have, right? I've fucking trolled him. I've fucking called him out. Every time he makes a new fucking video, we go into exactly what he's lying about. Here's what happened. Here's how he's lying, blah, blah, blah. But I've always had the stance like kids can't pick their parents, right? Phil's got 2 little boys. They can't not be Phil's kids, right? They can't take that away somehow. They can't change that. It's not their fault. So how far is too far? Does stuff affect the children? And if it does, is it fine? Good to go because, it's fair game, like the billboards and stuff. I don't know how old his boys are, but like imagine if you had 2 kids and their friends saw that and started fucking teasing them at school. Like that's kind of fucked up. But I don't know. I can't come down to a line and be like, this is okay and that's not, and this is and that's not. Like I can't do that. I was just curious. I already talked about the research team on somebody. I didn't say anything about the research team at first until someone fucking showed up in my fucking Twitter and was like, I was part of the research team, because they were telling me, they're like, you're just mad that Nick did what you could never do. Never. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, I was part of the research team. I know what's going on. And they got mad because I called it the copy and paste team. Like nothing new came out. Not a single thing new came out. All you did was go look up stuff that's not just me. I mean, other people have covered stuff that I haven't even covered. All they did was gather it. Everything has already been covered, right? If it was a research team, I would expect to see something brand new, right? Something that no one got, something that no one knew about. A brand new interview with somebody that was there or that was part of it, or a detective that worked on the case. But yeah, they were like the copy paste team. Copy pasta team.
Recently, a flurry of lies has been strewn about, seemingly for profit and recognition, or certainly for personal gain.
I didn't say give anybody a pass that has kids. And if that's what you heard, then you're just fucking retarded. I've never given anybody a pass that has kids. Ever. That's not the words that come out of my mouth. I don't know why you'd even repeat that. You can't give everybody a pass that has kids. When have I ever said that or done that? Jesus Christ.
Nick Alvear, a very talented filmmaker, has used his skills to manipulate his viewers and tell half-truths.
I don't like this. I don't like this shirt or the necklace.
A flurry of lies has been strewn about, seemingly for profit and recognition, or certainly for personal gain. Nick Alvear, a very talented filmmaker, has used his...
For profit or recognition, or seemingly for personal gain. Yeah, I guess he could. I mean, I guess that's a decent defense.
Skills to manipulate his viewers and tell half-truths by targeting my past, and he has crossed a legal line that I will not and cannot allow to go unanswered. This short film is not a hit piece on Nick. That would be easy enough to do. But I'm not going to spend my time or your time on something like that. However, I'm choosing to simply address...
I think it would have come across as even more just fucking waving your arms wildly if he would have come out and been like, well, Nick did this, then Nick did this, then this is who Nick really is, then this. If he would have made a hit piece on Nick, it would have been even worse than just addressing it.
Some of the glaring false claims that Nick has fit into his narrative, and to put things in proper perspective so we can cast a light on truth on what has long been settled. I've always heard that hurting people hurt people. I can't know for sure what Nick's motives are, but as damage has been done to me, the reputation I have with my audience and my family, I must set the record straight. It's never easy to confront accusations, especially...
The damage has been done to me, my audience, and my family. I must set the record straight. Do you think somebody wrote this script for him? It doesn't sound like stuff. The reason I'm repeating it is it doesn't sound like stuff that Phil would say.
The reputation I have with my audience and my family, I must set the record straight. It's never easy to confront accusations, especially those that stem from years-old legal cases. These charges from...
Yeah, just that. It's never easy to confront accusations, especially those that stem from year-old legal cases. That doesn't sound like something Phil would ever say.
front accusations, especially those that stem from years-old legal cases. These charges from my past, which ultimately concluded with a much lesser outcome, have been blown way out of proportion.
I don't like that either. When Phil talks, and he's trying to make it seem natural, he has this weird look left, look right, look left, look right. Like, I understand you don't want to hold your head like solid like you are reading a script, but it's so forced that it looks worse than if he'd just hold his head still and read the script. When he goes, no matter what he's saying, I don't know why he would do that. Move your head every once in a while, but not repetitively left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
Creating a storm that has swept me and my loved ones into its eye. This isn't just about me. It's about my family, my children, and their future. They didn't sign up for this. The relentless attacks, the vicious defamation. It's gotten out of hand. And it's time to set the record straight. Not just for my sake, but for them.
It's time to set the record straight, not just for my sake, for them. Oh, that is Joe DeAndrea. That's Phil's criminal attorney back when all this happened.
They didn't sign.
None of this sounds natural to Phil. If his followers that watch him day in and day out would have to think that this was scripted, or at least he sat down and wrote it out a few times, made corrections, asked somebody to proofread it, make it more professional. They're not going to believe that was off the cuff.
Sign up for this. The relentless attacks, the vicious defamation. It's gotten out of hand. And it's time to set the record straight. Not just for my sake, but for them.
These words may not resonate right now, but it should be easy because he didn't do anything of what this guy's alleging. Now, I think this fellow better watch what he says. Those words may be reckless and could have legal consequences. It's not my forte or my world if he's done something that's both actionable and not only, you can sue anybody you want, you can file a cause of action against anybody you want. Can you prevail? I don't know. It's not my world. But what I do know is using the word pedophile, that has a meaning. And if you're doing it for...
I've often wondered this. So pedophile has become the accepted term for any adult who has, like, that's the term we use, right? No one says hebephile. No one says hebephile. But pedophile, by definition, if you look it up in the dictionary, is attraction to someone before puberty. And then hebephile is someone that's attracted to a minor during puberty, the years that they're like going through puberty. And then hebephile is still under 18, but past the puberty changes. So maybe for like a girl, it'd be like from 15 and up or 16 and up, depending on how they develop. And then like maybe like 11 to like 14 or something, 12 to 14 for puberty. And then before that, it just depends on the person, really. But if we go by the textbook definition and they say, let's say someone was convicted of sleeping with a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, it doesn't matter. And then someone calls them a pedophile and they go to court. If the court sticks by the letter of the definition, the letter of the law and the letter of the definition and says, well, I'm not a pedophile. If anything, I'm a hebephile or hebephile, right? Pedophile is prepubescence. This person was clearly past the stages of puberty or entered into puberty. Would that stand? Or do you think the court would decide that it's like such common language that pedophile catches anybody under the legal age of consent? I don't know. Weird question.
For improper purposes to try to hurt somebody, that could be a problem. So for Phil, I mean, Phil's just got to sit tight. He didn't do anything what this guy's alleging. He's lived a pretty good life. He's worked hard. He's got a great audience because he's got a message that people like to hear.
Oh, God. He's got a great audience because he's got a message that people like to hear. Perfect. I wonder how much they had to pay for this. Because they didn't get it all in one take. They probably recorded. Usually you record like 5 times as much footage as you use. So let's say they had him for 30 minutes. That means they really had him for, fucking 2.5 hours. I wonder how much this all cost.
that could be a problem. So for Phil, I mean, Phil's just got to sit tight. He didn't do anything what this guy's alleging. He's lived a pretty good life. He's worked hard. He's got a great audience because he's got a message that people like to hear. But I don't
know. I haven't seen it yet. That's why we're watching it. But he said he had proof just spreading the text message. He said that again and again. He even said he had an expert and a private investigator that disqualify the text messages, and that's why the case and whatever. I've never seen any evidence of it. He always says, oh, I'll show it in court, but it hasn't been shown in court. And if you ask him why he took the plea deal, it kind of depends on when you ask him. So there's been times that he says, I did feel like I corrupted her morals just by texting her about, you know, her boyfriend that unalived himself. Other times he'll say that his grandpa talked him into it because they were going to stick something to him anyways, no matter what, because they had wasted so much time and money and they hated him and their family was running out of money. His grandpa had cancer and was about to die. So he took his grandpa's advice on a park bench during a recess. It depends on what day you fucking ask him. It's changed so many times. That's why it doesn't seem like the truth, right? It changes it too much.
I think everybody just has to understand that somebody here might have some motivation for acting in a way like this. I don't know if it's professional envy or jealousy or if there's a turf war going on. Like, what my understanding is they're both in the same kind of industry and one might try to be taking the other one down.
So as much as I dislike Phil, obviously, it does seem like Nick did a fucking 180. It does seem like Nick suddenly went from like, fuck it, no, he's not the type of pedophile that like you think about the cabal. I don't see him pedoing at the moment. It's have you seen 15-year-olds nowadays? There's a lot of flexibility here. 3 days later on Christmas Eve, he said he got mad, banned all of anybody that supported Phil, and then Phil told them to unsubscribe from Good Lion, and he got mad that he was losing money and decided, fuck it, I'm going to make a film about him.
But at the end of the day, Phil did not plead guilty or was found guilty of sexually abusing any minors, and far from that. So for Phil, he should be comforted in that he didn't do anything that this other individual is claiming. So he'll be fine.
I mean, even this guy cannot say that Phil didn't do anything to this other individual. This lawyer can't say that. He can say Phil wasn't convicted of this if they're sticking with the story that the improper contact was just text messages and phone calls. But how the fuck could this guy possibly know that it didn't happen? Just like when they had Chris Kelly on the stand, they're like, oh, but you weren't in the room while they allegedly had sex? You didn't have a witness in the room watching them allegedly have sex? This guy can't say that Phil didn't do it, right? He can say Phil wasn't convicted of it. He can, if that's the story they're sticking with, he can say they dropped the charges that related to that. You know, the contact was actually inappropriate text messages or whatever. But he can't say Phil didn't do anything that they're saying he did. How could he possibly know?
Fine. The other individual, I think, should be very leery of the words he's using.
A little warning. Individual should be very leery. Uh-oh. We got the family man at home set up. Here we go.
We had somebody make a film about this entire process and completely misconstrue, misrepresent, and manipulate the way that an actual pathway through the criminal system works. Unless you've been through this like I have, or if you're watching this and other people have also been through this, you wouldn't know.
Oh yeah, I had to turn on the fire. It gives the ambiance.
The exact steps of how a criminal accusation.
What did has anybody read the comments yet?
Leads to a criminal.
What happened when Phil sued the young girl? That's still going on. There's still a lawsuit going on. Everybody's kind of waiting to see how Scranton Times turns out, because Scranton Times is almost like a precursor to everything else. By some weird fucking... I don't think Phil's going to win the Scranton Times case. I don't even think it's going to go to trial. I think it's going to be thrown out. And they've already filed a summary judgment. Phil had to respond to that by the end of the month, and I'm assuming he did. Or did we read that he did? I can't remember. Anyways, that's still going on. So it's likely that the Bree case will obviously be after that one. But if he comes off losing the Scranton Times case, I don't think the Bree case is going to be anywhere near in favor of him. They're almost built on the same premise, right? He's suing Bree for the testimony that she gave the Scranton Times. So if he loses the Scranton Times case and they throw it out, summary judgment, or it goes to trial and he loses it, I don't think he's going to make any headway in the Bree case.
Criminal arrest and then a criminal process before you get to the ultimate conclusion of the case. And what I wanted to do in this particular film is correct the manipulation and misrepresentation that happened in Alvear's film.
So the probable cause determination is done through a district justice at a preliminary hearing. So if a person gets arrested for a DUI, if they get arrested for a murder, the procedure is all the same. They get arrested, and generally within a few weeks, their case is scheduled to go to a preliminary hearing. And a preliminary hearing is kind of like a mini trial. The Commonwealth will put on a case. The defense could cross-examine or put witnesses on their own part, which they rarely do.
The defense is usually just there. He's right. So the defense is usually just there to see what the prosecution has, see how they're going to present it, how they're going to whatever, and see if they can get any of that evidence dismissed, or it doesn't have standing, it doesn't have relevancy, or it's not reliable evidence or testimony or whatever. And they rarely put their own witnesses on the stand, the defense. At that time, they're the preliminary. This is mostly for the DA to prove to the judge, hey, we've got enough to go to court. We want to go to court. They're not going to take a plea deal, or they could take a plea deal at that time. But if they're not, then this is their time to show the judge we think we should be going to court.
And a magistrate has to decide two things: that a crime may have been committed, and the person charged may have committed that crime. Defenses of self-defense, of credibility of witnesses, none of those are factored into the district justice.
Right. They don't say, okay, well, this witness is lying, whatever. It's just this witness exists and this is their testimony. They kind of accept it as, I wouldn't say true, but they accept it as this is the standing, this is the evidence we have. Because later it can be disproved in court, but there's not a whole lot of defense put up, or like he said, like even self-defense, that's typically not brought up, or credibility of the evidence or the witnesses. Even though Phil claims that this is when the credibility of the text messages went out the window. That type of shit is typically not even brought up preliminary hearing. It's just that it exists and we're going to court.
This is determination. Because remember, it's a very low burden of proof, and that district justice just has to decide, may a crime have been committed, may the person charged have been committed of the crime. Very substantial.
May a crime have been committed, and is there a chance, if there was a crime committed, if I think there was a crime committed or may have been committed, is there a chance that this is the person who did it? That's all. That's the only two things they have to move forward, right? May a crime have been committed, and if so, is it possible that this person committed it?
Substantially in Pennsylvania, they find that there's probable cause.
In my case, according to the detectives and the district attorney, there was probable cause to arrest me. That probable cause is what Nick Alvear highlighted in his film and represented it not only as probable cause, but as truth and as finality and finalization of the charges that were being brought against me. Anyone could be accused of anything at any time. I could accuse my audience right now of doing something wrong, open an investigation, and it would be up to a simple detective or detectives or a district attorney to decide if that person should be arrested. If you are arrested, you need to figure out bond or bail, if there is bail, hire a defense attorney, hire a defense counsel, and then start attacking those charges which you believe are unproven and untrue. It was at that point when I hired my defense attorney, Attorney Jody Andrea, that we started finding those defects in the district attorney's case, attacking them one by one, and proving my innocence, which ultimately led to the dismissal of...
Wait a second.
And then start attacking those charges which you believe are unproven and untrue. It was at that point when I hired my defense attorney, Attorney Jody Andrea, that we started finding those defects in the district attorney's case, attacking them one by one, and proving my innocence, which ultimately led to the dismissal of every charge.
He was charged, I believe, now it's a long time ago, I believe it was done through...
Not every charge, first of all, but I don't even think they attacked really anything, right? The main witness bowed out, and then... Jody Andrea reapproached. So when Phil was first brought up on these charges, they spoke with a judge, and Phil wanted to take a plea deal. Jody Andrea was negotiating a plea deal, and Phil actually accepted a plea deal, not through the judge yet, but through the DA. And this plea deal had 0 time in jail. The judge rejected that plea deal. The judge said, nope, not doing it, while rejecting that plea deal with no time in jail. Now, several months later, at the preliminary hearing, the main witness The main witness decides to back out and plead the fifth. Okay. After that happens, they take a recess or whatever, and the plea deal topic is brought up again. The exact same plea deal. The exact same plea deal is brought up again. And in this plea deal, it's still no jail time or whatever, but it's a much different case now because there is no star witness, right? There is no star witness. And because the witness is gone now, the judge is more likely to take this plea deal. They approach him with it again. When they approach him with it the second time, it ends up being approved. The judge will go with it. And that was the the shit he got, right? The house arrest and probation.
Warrant. I believe they picked him up. He was taken to a magistrate. Bail was set. He made bail and he was out. And then we eventually went into the preliminary hearing. I've seen people allege a lot of things. But that doesn't mean it can be substantiated at a jury trial. So allegations to me mean nothing. All they are is mere allegations. Ultimately, they have to face the accused has to face a jury, and a jury will decide if they're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
If Phil, I don't think this exists, but if Phil could 100% prove that 0 of the text messages were from him. Now, I don't think this exists, right? Because there was images involved. There was images involved. There was like his daily schedule. They knew where he was at, when he'd be there, the houses he was selling. I think the Scranton Times attorney has done a pretty good job matching up even the shit about like the open house, right? I'm going to be at an open house on this road today, and then going back and pulling the records from the local newspaper. And the local newspaper says Phil Godlewski's hosting an open house at the same place, right? But if Phil could prove that the text messages, beyond a shadow of a doubt, were not from him, I think that drastically changes this case. I think that's the biggest thorn in his side, right? Is that the text messages follow his day-to-day, talk about personal information, talk about where he was working, what he was doing, include pictures of him that shouldn't be available to anybody else. And if those things are true, I don't understand how he gets out from underneath any of this. Any of this. Hold on, I'm trying to grab something right quick. Where are we at here? All right, let me turn this screen off because I don't know what I'm getting ready to expose here on myself. Probably a bank deposit where Phil paid me off all that money, remember? Okay, that's not it. That's not it. Sorry, I'm opening some documents. I lost one, so I'm trying to go back. I know I've shared it with people before. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. All right, sample, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Okay, here. Maybe here. Sorry. Give me just a second. The fuck is Copilot? The fuck is that? Yeah, I think it's a much different case. If there was a way that Phil could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the text messages aren't his, the problem is there isn't a way. That's not gonna fucking happen. There is no way for him to prove that, right? Sorry, I'm trying to grab something right quick. But it would make it a drastically different case, obviously. What is this one? Discovery motion. I can't wait until the Scranton Times case is resolved. I don't know what that means. I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know how quickly it's going to be. I'm hoping this month, right? If Phil had to respond this month, I'm hoping that this month will also be time for the judge to rule on the summary judgment. I'm excited about that. If it was me, obviously I'm not a lawyer, but if it was me, I don't think it meets the merits. So because Phil's a public figure, the Scranton Times doesn't have to prove shit, except that they didn't do this out of malice, and they didn't know that Phil was innocent and did it anyways. Right? That's the things they have to prove. Phil has to prove it didn't happen, plus prove that a regular person should have known, an average person, or that they did know and they just did it because they hated him. I went to school with Joe. His ex-brother-in-law is a judge in Lackawanna County. Well, I didn't know that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Photos. It's not under photos. What the fuck did I do with it? Sorry, guys. You have to give me just a minute. I must have cleaned it out. I'll find it in a second. That's not it. Oh, I know where it's at. Hold on. It's an email. I'm an idiot. I wish I would have known. Baby, is now the time? It's now the time to hit me with I'm really craving some cereal. Convert to PDF. Oh no, that's on Mike Flynn. What do you guys think? Has anybody already seen this? All right, I'm going to keep searching while this is playing because I don't like the dead air. Have you guys already watched this? Or did you watch it with Phil reviewing it and it's skipping every 3 minutes? There it is. All right, hold on. I just found it. This is Verizon Wireless, isn't it? View or manage bill. That looks like Verizon. Let me do this. What is it called? I'll just download it again. I heard that Phil claims that this is not a Verizon wire. He's like, they keep talking about Verizon Wireless, Verizon Wireless, Verizon Wireless. The victim had AT&T. Somebody clipped that and sent that to me. I don't know if anybody else does, but I have the phone bill right here. It is AT&T. What? We were all, I guess Phil was on Verizon. Because the subpoena went to Verizon, or at least that's what it says in the documents, right? Or am I inferring that? All right, back to it.
Accusations are one thing. What somebody was convicted of is another story.
The way that Nick presents the charges as the conclusion is so improper and so unethical, especially by a journalist such as Nick and a filmmaker who, by his own admission, has made 58 films over the last several years. For someone to do such little due diligence on the criminal...
I will give him this. Thank God that there were people that had covered this so in depth. Not even talking about me, other people. If I didn't exist and I'd never covered Phil, there's still people that have went over every fucking inch of this, right? They've dug up every detail, every document, every piece of paperwork, every claim. They've clipped everything. If Phil's got anything, he's got haters, right? And they've clipped every time he said something. They've got all the videos where he said this, where he said that. They've got all the posts he made on social media where he threatened this person or that person, changed his story. So thank God those people were around, because Nick and them don't do any fucking research. Any fucking research. Even when they were coming at me, they didn't know shit about me. Not a goddamn thing. At all.
Criminal process and what a charging document is versus what the guilty plea colloquy is versus what the information is signed by the district attorney versus what the final order of law is signed by the judge or determined by a jury. It's so.
Is there any paperwork in this video? Does he show any court documents or anything? Does anybody know? I don't know. Some of you said you already watched it.
So improper and so.
I already bought milk, right? It's just in the fridge.
It just makes it seem like it's all starting over again. It almost makes it seem like I again have to defend myself against the initial accusatory.
Yeah, that's not the question, whether Verizon or AT&T verified them or not. The question is, who had AT&T, who had Verizon? I'm looking at the bill right now, so the victim did have Verizon.
Information in the investigation. I've done that. It's 15 years old.
The pedophile, to me, is a person who is a known child predator and has been convicted of that. I mean, you can't just make a bold accusation that somebody's a pedophile without any substantial proof. And in Phil's case, which happened, oh my goodness, was that in 06 or 08? It's been some time ago now. There was an accusation of a sexual impropriety, but those charges were dropped because there was no substance to them, and the Commonwealth knew that if they went to trial, they would have lost that. And accordingly, Phil's plea had nothing to do with any sexual exploitation or assault on any minor.
Phil's plea had nothing to do with any sexual exploitation or any assault on a minor. Well, if you look at the charging documents of the plea he pled guilty to, it definitely does say he had a sexual relationship. And if that's the charges he pled to, charge 7 originally, new sequence is charge 1, then I don't know how you're getting around that one.
Phil wasn't convicted of any of that. I mean, he was charged but not convicted of any of that. So if anybody uses the word pedophile toward Phil, I think they're risking a lawsuit of misrepresenting what Phil did, and it could be actionable. That's not my world or my bailiwick. I'm a criminal lawyer, but I think I'd be very curious. I'd be very cautious about at any time accusing somebody of something they're not. And Phil did not sexually abuse anyone, nor was he convicted of sexually abusing any minor.
So, Joe DeAndrea's team, Phil. Oh, yeah, they're definitely paying him for his time.
So I want to address some of the many falsities and some of the many contradictory statements, so to speak, that Nick has.
I would be very curious to hear if Phil goes back and reads the Corruption of the Morals of Minors, M1, from that time, right, back in 2009, 2010, before it changed. If he didn't violate the sexual component that existed at the time there before they separated it out and made it a felony, then which one did he violate? Did he convince Bree to commit a crime? Did he convince Bree to go against her probation or parole? Did he convince Bree to go against a court order or a judge's order? Because texting someone doesn't violate any of those, if that's all he did. So which portion of that law did he violate?
Referenced in this film, and I think one of the first ones that I want to go over is the glaring fact that on December 22nd, 2023, Nick was not only defending me, but siding with me in the accusation.
Obviously, this one's going to look bad. Like, he was literally defending Phil. Now, Nick has a new excuse that what he was actually talking about was a film that he's making about a soccer player who's having sex with a 15-year-old, and this 15-year-old looks really old. That's just not true. He mentions Phil 3 times in the post. He talks about the text messages, and he says even reading those text messages, they don't seem as sinister as like blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of flexibility. He wasn't talking about anybody else. That's just not true.
That Phil is a pedophile. In his own channel, and I'll read directly from his quote. This was from the Good Lion Telegram channel. Nick says, "Dang, well, every story has many sides of truth. Personally, I don't see..."
Now, the comment he's responding to says the texts were verified through the court and through the phone company. And that's what he's responding to when he says, dang, well, every story has many sides of truth.
A 25-year-old as a mature adult. The brain for a male doesn't even reach its growth until 35. He knew.
I don't like this. I don't like this big red circle. It looks cheap. It looks, I don't know. It looks weird. I don't like it at all.
What he was doing was wrong, that's for sure. But could it be helped? Looking at those texts, and again here he's referencing the text messages that he was reading supposedly between me and the reported victim. Looking at those texts, it seems far less sinister than what people make him out to be.
Looking at those texts. Now, tell me, he's talking about Phil. He mentions Phil by name. He's talking about Phil's text messages. And he says, looking at those texts, it seems far less sinister than people make it out to be. Does that mean he's talking about some other soccer player who's dating someone and their daughter's 15 years old? And no, that's just his new excuse. Nick's fucking lying. Now, maybe Nick had a change of heart because God told him to, or he prayed on it or whatever. What he said in one of his podcasts was he woke up one morning and he was just pissed off. He went into his chat and kicked everybody out that supported Phil and told him to go get fucked for supporting a pedophile. Phil saw that and told people like, oh, I can't believe Nick flipped, but whatever. If I were you, I would unsubscribe from Good Line TV. Sorry I shared his stuff and told you all to subscribe. Nick saw that and said, fuck this, I'm going to make a video. What that tells me is Nick was perfectly content defending Phil. He woke up one morning in a bad mood and saw people fighting, and he decided, fuck it, I'm going to ban those people. Not to make a movie, right? He just said, fuck it, I'm going to ban those people. Then, when Phil affected his income, he told people to unsubscribe from Good Line Films, that's when he decided to make a video. And if he would just be, he saw an opportunity. And if he'd be honest about that, that's one thing. But the fact that he's going back to this text messages that say, like, looking at those, his Telegram messages, and it says stuff like, looking at those texts, it doesn't seem as sinister as people are making it out to be, talking about Phil, and saying, have you seen 15-year-olds nowadays? And saying Phil took him out of context. He was talking about a soccer player. Come on. Like, I can hate them both. They don't believe in dinosaurs. I don't know if I pointed that out yet. I'm just hung up on that. Somebody sent me a clip the other day. It's like, all right, just like those dinosaur bones, right, Jason Q? They were dragons. And he's like, yeah, dragons and Nephilim. Okay. If you say so.
So to me, it's such a flip. It's such a glaring flip of opinion that happened all in a 2 or 3 day period.
3 days, I think. I would be suspicious of that too. Could you imagine if you came to my show on a Friday and I was like, come on, guys, it's not that bad. It's just a 35 or a 25-year-old fell in love with a 15-year-old. Looking at the text, it's not that bad. There's a lot of flexibility here. You know, he just fell in love. I don't think his brain was fully developed. Have you seen 15-year-olds nowadays anyways, or even back then? Yeah, there's just looking at it, it doesn't seem like the cabal, like he's not a pedo. Then on Monday you come back and I'm like, oh my God, this pedophile is the greatest threat that possibly exists in northeastern Pennsylvania. We got to get billboards and police forces mobilized. We need an army of door knockers. Like, wouldn't you question me if I came in like that? I would question me if I'd have been kissing Nick's ass and being like, oh my God, the greatest filmmaker in the world. All of his films are great, awesome, perfect. I can't believe how talented he is. And then I said, fuck Nick Alvear, he's a cutard. Like, that would be weird. That's why I just remained silent until he had time to do his film and put it out.
Christmas Eve, I remember being here with my family on Christmas Eve, and most of the day on Christmas Eve and Christmas and around holidays, I give to family. I'm not on social media, but my phone was literally blowing up. It was going nuts. Nick said this, Nick said that. I'm like, Nick who? I can't be Nick Alvear. And me and Nick Alvear were on good terms. I'm promoting his works. I'm telling everybody how good I thought he was at making these films and drawing attention to the things that people should be thinking about. And then suddenly on Christmas Eve, which is just 2 days before the text I just read, he's literally calling me a pedophile, and he's saying that I slept with a child, and he's providing no evidence for this whatsoever when he's saying it. So I'm just completely sideswiped by this. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know why he's saying it. I don't know what he's getting at. I don't know what the motive was. There was certainly no disparagement between Nick and I.
I wonder if I can do this. Yeah, it didn't seem like there was a falling out between them two. It seemed like it was the audience or the fans arguing, pissed off Nick. And then after that, when Phil came after his money, that's when he decided he had to make a film. Hold on just a second. Almost every live is your compassion for people and helping them. With that being said, it breaks my heart to see pictures you posted of an old man. Oh, that was when everybody was mad at Phil for posting an old homeless man who shit himself or something. Janet commits unaliving. Sorry, I'm going through some old Phil stuff. All right, so the first thing we get is this. No, that's from someone else. Who's that from? You ban people not because they say something that you disagree with or don't like. You ban people because they cause trouble and disrupt everyone. I hate to say it, but that's the same as any other establishment. Bars ban people and kick them out. They become a problem or a safety hazard for the rest of the patrons. A distribution company will ban a truck driver if they refuse to follow their rules on their property or cause problems or behave disrespectfully to their employees. This is nothing new to anyone, and you, as any other business, have the right to do the same. Keep doing what you do. Tractor. The guy's name's Tractor. He's the guy you need to go to for stuff like that. If you go after me, I'm coming after you. What I'm checking, he deleted a bunch of his Nick Alvear posts, but oh yeah, it looks like it might already be gone. Please pray for Katie J. Her dad passed away. I can't get mad about Phil posting about people. First of all, I can't get mad. Katie J's dad passed away. I mean, that's awful. I lost both my parents within 9 months, and I'm still not over it. I still have issues where I fucking break down or get upset or something reminds me of them. Second, Phil does that on purpose. Phil wants to blend in. Like he's buddies with someone, to have that person seem as if they're friends with Phil or working with Phil. Or he does it to me too, right? I was looking for the first post that he made about Nick, but I think he went back and deleted all the Nick posts. They cheated. I'm already here to December 27th. I think he deleted everything about Nick. So I'd have to go back and find screenshots of them. X39. Russian textbook says Trump lost and rigged election. Good for Russia. Yeah, it's not there anymore. All right, here we go.
That led up to it, everything was fine. It was Christmas Eve. And even though he says in this exact text message that he had already reviewed the texts.
Who are you arguing with, Cheryl? A minor can't consent. You can't say a minor consented. I mean, would you say a 12-year-old consented? Like, that's the reason they have laws of when you can consent. Even if the minor did consent, like said, yes, I want to have sex with you, it's not valid. It's still a crime because they're not of legal age to consent. It's just 16 in Pennsylvania.
He goes on to say in the very next line, I don't think Phil is a pedophile, like that which people attach to the cabal. He says in his own words, there is flexibility here.
I don't think Phil is a pedophile, like that which people attach to the cabal, attach the cabal with. There can be flexibility. None of this is about a soccer player. He literally says, I don't think Phil is a pedophile, like that which, this is all in the same, it's all in the fucking same paragraph. I don't think Phil is a pedophile, like that which people attach the cabal with. There can be flexibility here. You can hate him for it, but what's that doing to you? Reach understanding, honor yourself more. I'm not siding with a pedophile here, as I don't think Phil has an attraction to children. Then the very next line, I don't think Phil has an attraction to children. The very next line says, have you seen what 15-year-olds look like now? Even then, where is the fucking part about a soccer player, dude? What the fuck does this have to do with any soccer player? That is a very, very, very convenient excuse that makes zero fucking sense. Zero fucking sense. If he would have said, right now, we're covering a soccer player, or I'm working on a movie where someone sent me a picture of a 15-year-old and she looks 25. That's a different conversation than, I don't think Phil is a pedophile. Have you seen 15-year-olds nowadays? I don't think you're going to win that argument. Guys should be put, if you can't consent, they should be put on a registry for those types of things. Where do you draw the line? If someone says, okay, 16's good, and someone says, oh, 15's good, well, this is a very mature 14-year-old. Where do we draw the line? 10? I don't think you're going to win that argument in chat. That might be your belief. I just don't think you're going to win. This has nothing to do with a soccer player, Nick. That's a fucking lie.
He said you can hate him for it, but what's that doing to you? Reach understanding and honor yourself more. Not siding with a pedophile here, as I don't think...
That's the reason we draw the line at 18 or 16, is because there may be super mature people capable of making the decision at 15, but you can't do one-off cases. You have to have a law somewhere, and they should be on a registry, if that's what the law says.
Phil has an attraction to children. Then he goes on to say, which is really ironic to me, have you ever seen what 15-year-olds look like now? That's an insinuation, and I think it's plain in black and white that Nick may think that 15-year-old females are attractive.
Holy shit. That was a good shot. I think it may insinuate that Nick Alvear may think that... Oh, damn! He said the thing. He said the thing.
The irony of this whole thing is that Nick made a film seemingly out of nowhere. Even though we had a good relationship, we were on the same side, so to speak, exposing those that are lying to people of the world, exposing the lies that exist. Nick is now suddenly accusing me of something which, in his own messages, says maybe he also has a problem with. That's the irony of it. Never once, in any platform or any show out of the hundreds and hundreds of live shows that I...
Don't attack people in chat. Lots of people believe that way. It's not right. I don't think it's right. It's obviously not legal, but don't attack people in chat.
and the thousands and thousands of social media posts that I've done. I challenge anyone to find a single one of them, a single line, a single excerpt, a single anything that says, I think a 15-year-old is attractive in any way.
Well, short of the text messages, I don't think you'll find like what Nick put. Maybe you will. We'll have to see.
Never find it because I've never said it. And I remember everything that I said. And more importantly than that, I know how I feel in regards to this particular topic. We have an actual message from Nick Alvear that says, that indicates.
And Nick's not even denying this message. He's just saying for some reason, as if it was a soccer player made it. But again, there isn't, no one would be saying anything to Nick if he'd have just in general said, man, 15-year-olds look like 25-year-olds nowadays with the makeup and the way they dress. And, you know, no one would have had an issue with that. The problem is the statement he made at the end and all the statements before that. I don't think Phil's a pedophile. I don't think he's attracted to children. I don't think it's a sinister. I don't think, you know, he's like we call a pedophile with a cabal. There's a lot of flexibility here. Plus, the have you seen 15-year-old nowadays make the issue. Oh my God, fucking stop. Cheryl, you're fucking wrong. Go be wrong somewhere else or just fucking stop. Stop attacking her. Stop saying shit to her. She just keeps saying the wrong thing over and over again. God damn.
He thinks a 15-year-old is attractive nowadays. I think that's a glaring inconsistency with Nick's entire motive for making this film. And I also think it's the most hypocritical thing.
It is a big inconsistency if he's going to make the film. In the film, multiple times he says, but she was 15, she was 16, she was 15. He's saying this to a 15-year-old. And then he's saying, it's not sinister. It's not, I don't think he's a pedophile. I don't think he's attracted to minors. I think there's flexibility here. I don't think it's that big a deal, kind of, statements. And have you seen 15-year-olds nowadays? And then he's the movie maker?
In this entire documentary. One thing I noticed.
He should have never even fucking commented on it. But again, there was no issue with him commenting on it at the time because he had no plans to make a video. He had no plans to make a video. He was defending his buddy. Right? They were sticking together.
But wait till it get home. She gonna be like, damn, shit, my God.
Yeah, I saw your comment. Please make a short YouTube video out of Phil reading Nick's statement. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it.
Motive for making this film, and I also think it's the most hypocritical thing in this entire documentary.
Oh, I'm sure fucking Phil watched the video and was like, oh yeah, that'll go in my video. That'll go in my video. Plus, I'm not the only person saying this. A lot of people there are people that sided with Nick Alvear that are smart. I don't think they're fucking retards. I don't think they're Q-tards. I don't think they believe in QAnon or no dinosaurs or flat earth or any of that stupid shit. The problem is that they're willing to duck their head when all that comes up because this guy don't like Phil either, right? I'm not going to hide from your shit about Jews, your shit about flat earth, sovereign citizens, Biden's not real, Trump's the commander-in-chief secretly, Biden's a clone, he's never said Space Force. Have you seen 15-year-olds nowadays? I'm not going to ignore all that stuff just because he said Phil's bad, and I think Phil's bad too. Fuck you. Like that's they want to say that I flipped on Nick when the real issue they have is they're willing to throw everything out, their morals, their standards, their beliefs, and silently co-sign all the shit Nick says. They might not be there like, yeah, Nick, flat earth. But when you don't stand up to that, you're silently co-signing on to everything else he says just because we all don't like Phil. Bullshit. Like, no, there's no way I'm on that team. They're not mad because they think I flipped. They're mad because I held my standards and they lost all theirs. Every fucking one of them.
Anonymous gifted Betsmo a subscription. An anonymous user gifted a tier 1 sub to Betsmo.
Thank you very much for the gifted sub. They're mad because they dropped all of their standards. They're mad because from now on, people will be like, oh, you helped Nick go after Phil Godlewski? Cool. Do you also believe the fucking Jews are running the world with Jason Q and making up dinosaur lies? And they're just gonna have to be like, no. I never agreed with any of that. I just sat there silently while he fucking said all of it. I just sat there silently when he preached about flat Earth. I just sat there silently when he said Biden's a clone and Trump's secretly the president, the CIC. I just sat there silently when he said, have you seen 15-year-old girls nowadays, while he was defending Phil. I just sat there silently. They don't have a leg to stand on. I do. Right? I sat there silently too until he made his film. I'm always trying to draw attention to me or attention away from his film. I actually encourage people to go watch it. But once it's out and he's done his work, we got to talk about all this other messy shit you're involved in, because none of it's adding up. And they made their decisions, right? They all went Team Nick, left all my shit, went over to Team Nick and was like, oh my God, I can't believe Will flipped. And you'll notice when he goes in there and starts talking about flat Earth, they don't comment at all, right? They wait until someone brings up Phil or billboards or something, and they pop up and they're like, yeah, I agree here. But all the rest of the time, they're just sitting there silently, just lurking. They sold out. They want to call me a sellout. They sold out. Not for money or for fame or fortune or whatever. They sold out to have somebody with a big platform who they disagree with on every fucking thing. On everything. They sold out to have that person make a video about a guy they don't like.
One thing I noticed in the community, so to speak, over the last 4 years that I've been involved is the way that people fixate on a particular topic or on a particular subject, and the obsession with that topic just consumes their life. I don't know what Nick's overall reason for fixating on me is, but I do know that, and I've seen it with my following, with my audience, I've seen it with other truthers. For some reason, someone tends to latch on to a certain particular event or a date. We've had a lot of problems with dates in our movement. Why isn't this happening on a date? And because
y'all are always wrong. Nothing's happened at all.
Thing didn't happen on a certain date. That person becomes obsessed with that one fact, when there are all of these other facts that are presented that could help correlate why that thing didn't happen at that time, or that topic didn't turn out how you thought the topic would turn out based on everything everybody was telling you. The fixation on a particular topic is something that I think is almost like a reflex to what everyone is going through right now in society. We have a fraudulent government in place in the United States. We have the mainstream media who does nothing but
God, he had to put his Q shit in it too.
We have good people in our movement who are being painted as bad people.
What they did was give Phil everything he needed to keep this bullshit going longer. Yeah, and that he can always write it off as, oh, they were paid off, or, you know, someone approached them, or the devil made them do it, or the deep state made them do it, or whatever. And he just got, there technically isn't there. It's very hard to have bad press when you're trying to get views, right? Because even the people that hate Phil now watched the documentary, right, and decided Phil's a pedo, I hate Phil, I'll never support him again. You don't think they tuned in that immediately after the fucking documentary come out to see what Phil was saying? You don't think they're curious about his posts that he makes? Right? They called the movie they made today in one of their things, I had a clip of it, they called it The Kill Shot. How long does it take for this motherfucker to die? What do you mean the kill shot? We're still waiting. Where's that kill shot at? You could probably embarrass some people off the internet, but they have to have a qualifier that they're able to be embarrassed. Phil thinks he's the best, he's the brightest, he's the greatest they'll ever be. He's the best broadcaster. He lies about having the top podcast on the East Coast and lies about the money he makes and the people that are watching. You think you're going to shame him off the internet for something that's been around for, you know, a couple years now? That was the kill shot. He recovered quickly. The shot heard around the world. That's it.
Some point Donald Trump, the most, popular one that we could point to, saying,
yeah, at best, they put all the information together in one place and drew some attention to it. At worst, They just gave him a shield to hide behind that his most ardent supporters are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe they're harassing you like this. Billboards and passing out flyers and this, that, and the other. And those supporters just dug in further, right? Because now they think that everything he said about like the deep state coming after him or hit pieces or the newspaper being paid to harass him, now they just think, oh, that's been reinforced, right? There is an effort for people to come after him now.
He's going through this and this is ridiculous. Why is that happening? We have such a distrust right now for everyone and anyone around us that the fixation aspect and the obsession.
Everybody keeps saying that, but there's no proof that the SEC showed up. I don't know why Script Keeper said, Phil said the SEC's investigating him. That's not, we watched the videos. That's not what he said. He was just talking about people reporting the SEC or doing, video appearances for him or whatever. He didn't say the SEC come. I don't know where they got that from.
Obsession aspect of certain things is very common. Why Nick Albier chose to obsess about this particular topic and me in general and get so many things wrong.
You cost him money, bro. When he kicked everybody out because he was having a bad morning, you told everybody to go unsubscribe from Good Line Films, and that's when he decided to make the movie.
That he did in his film could really be anyone's guess, but I think it has a lot to do with personal issues that Nick may be going through, a spiritual effect that maybe God saw Nick as a great messenger. Maybe God saw Nick as something great for the patriots of our country or for our movement or for a political reason. Maybe God shined on Nick and gave him the ability to do what he did, and maybe the devil, Satan, and some sort of nefarious spiritual force noticed.
Oh, hold on. So this is, of course, he's going to Satan. I didn't even know he did that in this, but I figured it was a thing. The Patriot Archive channel says, for those asking if Nick's posts are real, yes, those sick profile posts from Nick that Will read are real. From what I hear, they're still up. Link to the post at the bottom of this thread. And then they share some images. Dang, well, every story has many sides of truth. Personally, I don't see a 25-year-old as a mature adult. The brain for a male doesn't even reach its growth until 35. This is another disgusting excuse. So if you're 25 and sleep with a 12-year-old, you're just off the hook unless you're 35? He knew he was doing was wrong, that's for sure. But could he help it? Look at those texts. Looking at those texts, it seems far less sinister than what people make him out to be. Looking at those texts, the first excuse that Nick came up with before the soccer player part was that, before the soccer player excuse, was that he hadn't seen the text yet. But if you go back and read it, it literally says, looking at those texts, the text that he's responding to from Rebecca Miller says, however, the verified texts are from. Looking at those texts, it seems far less sinister than what people make him out to be. I don't think Phil is a pedophile like that which people attach the cabal with. There can be flexibility here. You can hate him for it, but what's that doing to you? Reach understanding and honor yourself more. Not siding with a pedophile here, as I don't think Phil has an attraction to children. Have you seen what 15-year-olds look like now, even then? I honestly don't think that, assuming that everything we assume about Bree and all the stuff that's going on and the text messages and they're real, blah, blah, I don't think it was with Phil about being attracted to children either. I think it was, hey, he had influence over this girl. She thought he was rich. She thought he was powerful. She thought, he could buy her anything. He could do anything. He had all this money and he liked that control more than he cared about whether she was 15 or 16. I think, but I could be wrong. Let's see what other posts they shared. I don't see Phil pedoing at the moment or in the last 10 years. Another excuse. He was 25-year-old and fell in love. He was 25 and fell in love with a 15-year-old. Another excuse. Even people are leaving vomiting emotes on these comments. Tell me this is about a soccer player. He was 25 and fell in love with a 15-year-old. Chill. I don't see him pedoing in the last 10 years. A pedo prays in darkness. Phil was a dumb 25-year-old who fell for a 15-year-old. If you say so, bro. Clown emote. The people that are clapping are Phil fans. That's the people who like these types of comments, obviously. I made Pervywood, called out a handful of pedos for years. I know what a pedo is. People get crazy when I help them see what's up. Alita, I saw your post also before you deleted it. Thanks for sharing it. I was 19 turning 20 and was with a 40-year-old for 2 to 3 years. I don't know what kind of admission that is, but that's strange, no? That's kind of strange. And then this. That's what I was trying to get across. Phil was a dumb 25-year-old, but he's not an evil man lusting for children under 12 years old. People get way too highly strung on the word pedo without considering the reality of what a pedo is. This right here should be the most damning evidence if this ever goes to court. This right here should be the worst evidence that if this ever goes to court. That's what I was trying to get across. Phil was a dumb 25-year-old, but he's not an evil man lusting for children under 12 years old. People get way too highly strung on the word pedo, which is literally what you say about him in your movie like 15 fucking times, without considering the reality of what a pedo is. Damn. Oh, sorry, this group's private. That's the Patriot Archive channel. Like, I don't understand why people think I can't say fuck Nick and fuck Phil. Like, if I say something about Nick, they're like, oh, Will's flipped. He loves Phil now. They're best friends. And if I say fuck Phil, they're like, oh, Will just covers Phil light now. He just covers him light now because Nick did all the work. Okay. Is it off the table that Phil and Nick planned and worked together from the get-go? I don't think it's certainly not off the table. Anything could be possible, but I don't think it's got enough benefit for both of them. You know what I mean? It's too many downsides for Phil. All right, back in it.
That God saw that and tried to pull Nick back and tried to stop Nick from doing. Like I said before, it's anyone's guess.
Here you go. Here's a post from back in the day on 11/22/2023, November 22nd of last year. New rules for the den, 11/22/2023. 3 violations will get you a strike. 3 strikes means you're out. That means you can fuck up 9 times. Cats, lions get 9 lives in here. That's, I don't know. That's a little worse. That's a little rough. It says, be respectful to everyone. These are the rules for his chat. Okay? I didn't make this up. I'm not taking this out of context. This is the rules for his chat. Be respectful to everyone. Speak kindly about others. Criticize others, but with tact. Use love to win battles, not hate. That's like Michael Jaco, who thinks he killed bin Laden by loving him to death. Do not throw insults at others. Pedo is an insult unless you have evidence of its truth. Phil isn't a convicted pedo. Phil brought us together. Find the good in every bad situation. I know some rules are just attitudes. I encourage everyone to follow these rules. As we have grown, it seems it's been necessary to throw some rules in here to create a space where everyone can come and feel like they can be 100%. Now, again, this is after he's seen the text, after he's seen the evidence, after he's seen everything. I know he's already seen it because when he was defending Phil, the same people that are cheering on Nick right now were plastering that shit in Nick's chat and getting banned for it by Nick. So you know he saw it.
As to why these things are happening the way that they're happening, but the fixation.
He gets the 9 because it takes 3 violations to get 1 strike, and you're allowed to have 3 strikes. So 3 would be your first strike, 4, 5, 6 would be your second strike, 7, 8, 9 would be your third strike.
The obsession by Nick on this particular topic and on me in general is, it's out of this world. It's like nothing I've ever seen.
The obsession. They went pretty hard after it. I didn't figure they'd be lingering on it so long, but I guess if you only do like one video every few months, what else do you have to linger on, I guess? Yes, Nick was sucking Phil's dick. Phil brought us all together, guys. Someone in chat said, I didn't realize how much Nick blew Phil. Yes. That's why I had questions. Like, how do you go from, he's not a pedo, there's flexibility here. 15-year-olds are kind of hot nowadays, or whatever the fuck. Even back then they were. It's not, I read the text messages. It's not as sinister as you're making it out to be. He isn't pedoing right now. He hasn't been in the last 10 years. In fact, I think he was just a 25-year-old who fell in love with a 15-year-old and then kind of quiet for 3 days and then ban everybody and come back and say, I got to make a video on Phil. He's horrible. I got to put it out there. People have to know. Something happened during those 3 days. I think it was he got pissed off, banned people for supporting Phil. Phil said, well, if he's going to do that, unsubscribe from goodline.tv. And he saw dollar signs walking out, and he's like, I can fix this.
When Nick Alvear, and not only Nick Alvear, but when the community, a very popular term that I've seen floating around social media now, and in particular the Great Awakening and the following that I've amassed on social media, is the word receipts. Everybody wants to use it because it's a catchy phrase. It's a new way to say, hey, I have the evidence. Instead of saying evidence, now you're saying receipts. Since it's new, people are latching onto it. And one common theme throughout Nick Alvear's film is that he's showing the receipts. He's showing the evidence that Phil is such and such. Phil is a monster. Phil is a scammer. Phil is a grifter. Phil is a pedophile. What we're going to show in this film is that Nick actually doesn't have receipts for any of that. Nick has no evidence of any of that. And the actual receipts that he's putting forward are not receipts at all. They are simply manipulations, misrepresentations, and gaslighting, so to speak, of what the actual...
To be fair, you got to give this to Phil. This is a technicality, but you still got to give it to him. The evidence we have from 2010 never was tried in court. Like, we can see it. We can see, like, it matches the AT&T bill. You know, they pulled it directly from her phone, or they got a search warrant and went to the company and blah. But it was never really tested in court. Now, Phil wants to say it was thrown out of court. It wasn't. But because he took a plea deal and they never went to court, there was no witnesses called for the other side to dispute it or whatever. Now, Phil claims he has some private eye who got all this thrown out and figured out it was just the girls texting each other, blah, blah. There's zero evidence of that. What I'm saying is it hasn't been tested. It looks legit to me. It looks like if it goes to court, it's going to stand up, right? If you got, which we're about to see with the Scranton Times stuff, because that's one of their main pieces of evidence. But it hasn't been like, okay, here are the text messages, here's our expert witness testifying on them, and then Phil's side calls their expert witness and he says, well, I don't know, you know, this is misspelled and this timestamp's not right. Who knows what they would try to do? Or he claims in here that they had affidavits of Bree's friends who were going to testify against her. We've never seen any of that. You know what I'm saying? Ever. So it's wrong to say this evidence went into court and stood up. You know, it stood the test in trial. It's also wrong to say what Phil says is that it was thrown out of court.
Truth is, in one particular case, there's a clip of then District Attorney Gene Tallarico, which alleges, in Gene Tallarico's own words, he uses alleges, which means that they are accusing me of having some sort of sexual contact with the minor victim in vehicles that I own, as well as residences throughout Lackawanna County through my access as a then realtor.
Right. Vehicles and houses for sale. And Breeze testified to that too now.
Suze Bizzler just resubscribed for 21 months.
Thank you for the resubscription.
Irony of this particular receipt that Mr. Alvear shows is that the search warrants that were executed on both of my vehicles, which Mr. Tallarico says were Infinities, there was an Infiniti G37X as well as an Infiniti FX. Both of those searches, once they were conducted, a day or two after Mr. Tallarico said that they were executed, that's a falsity in itself. When Tallarico said that, they weren't yet executed. They were being signed and presented to the court for search and seizure.
I don't think Infinity doesn't have just a plain FX. They have an FX 35, 45, 50. They're crossover SUVs. This is the same Infinity that's in the text messages. Like you bought Dory fucking Infinity or whatever. Yeah, that's the same one. One's an SUV and one's like a sports car. The G37, the original G37 was the Skyline, the Nissan Skyline that was sold out in the Middle East, I think. There's like collectors that still collect those or whatever. It was like North America, South Korea, Taiwan maybe, and the Middle East. That's how they sold the Nissan Skyline. If you're a gearhead, you know what a Skyline is.
I think that in the film, Mr. Tellerico misrepresents to the viewership that they were already done and this thing already happened. And we have the evidence because we have the cars and we have the DNA and we have the whatever was being taken from them. The truth is, when Tellerico said that, he didn't have the cars. The search warrants were not yet executed. And upon being executed, absolutely nothing of evidentiary value was found in the vehicles.
Yeah, I noticed that too, that while he admits to having a sexual relationship with the victim and other women, after the victim was an adult, right? After he turned 18, it doesn't even mention that he was married at the time and having an affair and all that shit. But who knows, dude? They judge some people. They judge for like doing stuff like adultery, and some people they don't. Hell, fucking Jason Q got busted, trying to fuck some chick that is married, fucking around with some chick that is married, and he'll get a pass. But other people they'll go after for adultery. That's not very Christian-like. Oh.
I've never threatened anyone a single time in regards to telling the truth. In fact, I encourage and would like people to tell the truth as much as possible. That's the definition of...
I don't know why Phil always says, he always comes out and says that I've never crossed the line, that I've never defamed him, that even though he has threatened to sue me multiple times. People will say, well, that's why he's never threatened to sue Will. He has multiple times. One time he called me the beer man. That's where that video comes from, me checking my post office box and saying, oh, still not here, and then I close it back. It was like a funny little short I made. He's also listed me multiple times. He named me when he named the Daily Beast and Will Sommer and all those people. But, I mean, I've never went like calling everybody the F slur and talking about how gay Phil is, like the All Male Review does. But I've basically stated my opinion on it and what I think fucking happened and what I think the evidence adds up to. Now my haters, for some reason, will be like, yes, he has. Yes, Will has defamed you. Here, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. You should sue him. You should sue him. Because they only want Phil to win when it's they want Phil to win when it's somebody they hate. But the rest of the time, they want him to lose. But I'm the one who's flip-flopping.
What I do for a living is a truther. So I want people to tell the truth. What I have referenced lawsuits for is defamation. Defamation is a very serious crime, as is slander and libel. There are several differences between those three phrases, but they all come down to the same thing. You are saying something publicly about someone that damn...
How did the Jason Q photo come out? A friend of a friend of a friend, I heard. So he sent this apparently to a married woman when they were messaging back and forth. The only reason I brought it up is because I want to know what's in this tote. This one looks like flags again, plus that one finger ringer. That's a tiny little man. That's a tiny little man. Yeah, it's the same people who cheered on Phil and said that Pebble's case would fail and cheer it on for failing, then said it was fake, then said it would fail again, then said it would fake, then said it would fail again. Oh, it's Jason Q? Yeah, it has his name on the top of it. And I literally said Jason Q when I showed the photo. These are flags in a tote. Who the fuck takes a picture with like... Look, if you're going to get a picture of your dick, it needs to be like a dick's fucking scary, okay? Looks like a fucking alien or some shit. Right? It's got a big fucking weird looking head and it looks like an alien. Dicks are scary. So you want to give yourself some longevity, and you probably want it like from the side, like people are used to seeing dicks. There's more of these. Who the fuck takes a picture like down the fucking pee hole? Like, hey, have I introduced you to my Cyclops friend? He's winking at you. Like, who the fuck takes a picture down the pee hole to where all you see is like head? And who the fuck takes a picture down the pee hole, staring straight on the barrel? That's right. Motherfucker wants to go off. He'd be a dead son of a bitch. Pointing right at you. I don't know. I mean, I might get a little top hat for mine. I feel like I need to step my game up too. But I don't know who the fuck takes a picture like that, dude. Who the... Jason Q, you got to get better dick pictures. What'd you say about me that there's no way I could have been in combat because the only combat I had was with a treadmill and I lost? I won the dick measuring contest for goddamn sure. And I know at least a couple people in the chat will testify to it. Need to get a little top hat and I like to put some eyeliner right around the rib of the head. Right around the... And for Jason Q to be so fucking anti-Jew, he sure ain't got a whole lot of foreskin in the game, if you know what I mean. First of all, that name, Godlewski. Second of all, they took all his turtleneck. All his turtleneck. It's gone. Johnny can only testify about my balls. I sent him an eclipse video one time. I used to have this video that was like, oh my God, the solar eclipse. And all you could see was this really bright light. And then it looks like it's eclipsing until you see like there's like a couple pubic hairs and it's a set of nut sacks that go in front of a flashlight. It looks like the solar eclipse, like everything's blacked out. It's a funny video. You just had to see it. And it's always labeled like, oh my God, did you see the eclipse? But it looks just like it. Like everything's black except this bright ass yellow light. And then like it starts covering the light just a little bit. And then you're like, is that a pubic hair? And he just keeps going until it lights it up like a ball sack, a jack-o'-lantern. It's pretty good. All the mods have seen it. They know. Mariah had to fucking lay on the couch and like flip to this weird she was upside down on the couch on this weird angle trying to record it.
Damages their reputation beyond repair. That is irreparable harm. You can't just come out and say a statement, or in this case, make a film about somebody without providing the audience with the factual background of that accusation. That is something that Nick Alvear has not done in this film.
Oh, thank you very much. I just saw a Cash App donation. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And any reference to any lawsuits that I made to providing the audience their reputation beyond repair, that is irreparable phrases, but they also lawsuits for is anyone.
Sorry, I want to start this over.
In regards to telling the truth. In fact, I encourage and would like people to tell the truth as much as possible. That's the definition of what I do for a living is a truth.
I know there's a TikTok video where I think a woman uses a cucumber to try to tell men what are safe dick pics and what are scary dick pics. This would be safe. Maybe even put a little hat on him. Like I said earlier, I use a little eyeliner around the head just to give it a little bit more definition so it makes it pop. But not straight down the barrel, dude. Looks like you're falling into a well. What the fuck is going on there?
Truther. So I want people to tell the truth. What I have referenced lawsuits for is defamation. Defamation is a very serious crime, as is slander and libel. There are several differences between those three phrases, but they all come down to the same thing. You are saying something publicly.
Defamation. Defamation, slander, and libel. Defamation he says there's several differences between them. Defamation includes both. Okay? Defamation is a tort. Right? Defamation is a tort that defames someone unjustly. A tort is just old term law for like an injustice or an infringement on somebody's right. It's just a crime, right? Defamation is libel, which is written, and slander, which is spoken word. So defamation is there's not subtle differences between all three of those. Defamation is those two. And if it's written down, it's libel, and if it's spoken, it's slander.
A serious crime, as is slander and libel. There are
the old meat bat, flesh weasel. I don't even know if that's a full weasel. That's like a fucking flesh baby chipmunk. Hairless too.
several differences between those three phrases, but they all come down to the same thing. You are saying something publicly about someone that damages their reputation beyond repair, that is irreparable harm. You can't just come out and say a statement, or in this case, make a film about somebody without providing the audience with a factual background of that accusation. That is something that Nick Albier has not done in this film, and any reference to any lawsuits that I made to anyone has never been to try to silence them, but more to try to warn them or put them on notice that what they say about me needs to be factual, and if it's not, there are legal repercussions.
I don't know. I think people could make arguments that he's trying to silence them with like the claims he makes, like, oh, you better take this down. You don't think that I have all this money, all this time, and all these lawyers? He does seem to try to include like phrases like, oh, you can say whatever you want as long as it's true, or the truth. You can share the truth, but that's like a cover your own ass thing. I do think he makes a lot of his shit is about threatening people, right, to silence them, or doxing people, or ruining their businesses to silence them. We have a celebrity in the chat tonight. Oh, Pebbles. They know.
Repercussions for that. When you submit it to writing, especially on the internet, it lives there forever. There's an old saying, say it, forget it, write it, regret it.
I don't know if he's using that as a teleprompter or whatever, but he's probably got notes on it, I guess, because he's not directly looking at it like a teleprompter. Say it, forget it, write it, regret it. I've never heard that. I'm not saying it isn't true. I've just never heard it. Say it, forget it, write it, regret it. Let's see what it says. I was thinking the other day about how when I was in grade school, my friends and I used to write little love notes to the boys that we had crushes on. We didn't write those notes ourselves, but we'd have friends to write and deliver them for us. The note usually went something like this. He loves me. He loves me not. Do you like Mary? Circle yes or no. I remember the agonizing anticipation we experienced as we waited to hear back from the objects of our affection. Usually the boys were not interested at that age, and so they would take the notes and throw them away. Occasionally we received a yes. However, sometimes it turned into a nightmare because the notes were shown to everybody in the class, including the teachers. That's always led to great embarrassment for at least a couple weeks. Nowadays, with the advent of the internet and all the social media websites, the embarrassment can last not just 2 weeks, but for a lifetime. Young people are busy posting all their thoughts and feelings on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, WeChat, and new websites each day. The problem is, as Judge Marilyn Millen of the People's Court so eloquently says, say it, forget it, write it, regret it. She usually gives this sound advice to those who are snared by a written document that can be an email, social media post, or handwritten letter. While our love notes of the past were eventually ripped up with pencil marks and ink fading and thrown into the trash, the website post of today can last forever and reach a lot more people than just a classroom or even a school. This is why I pray for our young people, as others have read the posts or on social media websites. Many of these posts I read are from people that are obviously using the website to blow up steam. The question that I have is, what happens years later when the words are still there for the whole world to see? I thank God that these social media websites weren't around during my crazy years. This wisdom holds true. This bit of wisdom holds true both in professional and personal realm. Watch what you say. Be even more careful what gets memorialized in writing. Of course, we all Well, that's kind of silly now that we got video, though, right? Like, say it, forget it. But if you say it on video, I don't know. Of course, some people go around recording others. We all know some people go around recording others. However, there are certain state laws that may hinder that. Nonetheless, maybe you should go around in the workplace thinking people are recording you. You kind of got to treat it like that, right? In years past, if you had like a meltdown at a fucking gas station or somewhere public, chances are most people might talk about it in your local town or whatever, and it just died down as long as you don't go to jail. Now everybody whips out a phone. They'll watch you fucking bleeding out just so they can get a good shot for TikTok.
Legal repercussions for that. When you submit it to writing, especially on the internet, it lives there forever. There's an old saying, say it, forget it, write it, regret it. In this particular case,
I also do think that Phil hurts his own excuses and his own case by saying this girl was crazy. She tried to ruin my life. She tried to have me locked up. She tried to get me thrown in jail. She made up this whole story. This is Phil saying this, right? She made up this whole story. I was fixing to go to jail for a long time. She's going to testify against me. She fabricated text messages. Her and her friends got together. And then as soon as she turns 18, according to Phil, they start sleeping together. He even says, like, I didn't know. As soon as she started acting crazy, I knew she was a lunatic. But then 3 years later, you're like, hey, want to fuck? Then they said, well, why did you keep fucking her if you knew she was crazy? And he's like, because it was a good fuck. But is it worth someone ruining your... If you honestly believe this, she is a life-ruining, according to you, a life-ruining girl. No matter what stage of life you're in, like, yes, she might not be a minor now, but if she's going to say that you fucked her as a minor, according to you, and make that up, according to you, then she's also going to say he hit me, he attacked me, he robbed me, he raped me, he stabbed me, he whatever, right?
Nick Alvear has not only doubled down, but tripled down, and even quadrupled down on that.
That's right, Johnny.
To the point that not only did he make a full-length documentary based on misrepresentations and manipulations, but also went the extreme length of putting those defamational statements on billboards, on airplane banners, on flyers, passing it out to my...
That doesn't... So, when Phil goes to court, you can get mad at me about this, but this is the truth. When Phil goes to court, just like he's in court with the Scranton Times, he's a public figure, okay? So what does he have to prove? He would have to prove that, just like with the Scranton Times, that not only did it not happen, but they should have known it didn't happen or did know it didn't happen. Well, he's got fucking Nick Alvear in his own text saying Phil's not a pedo. He isn't pedoing. He's just somebody that fell in love. There's a lot of flexibility here. The text messages aren't sinister. I don't believe Phil has an attraction to children. I don't believe he's a pedo. I don't believe in none of this. And he has to prove that they had actual malice and a disregard for the truth. Like, they knew it was false, but they just hated him enough and did it anyways. These billboards, postcards, and these live streams they're doing where they're like, I hate Phil so much. He's a pedo. I hate pedos. I hate Phil. I hate Phil. I hate Phil. If Phil had that on Chris Kelly, like Chris Kelly was going live once a week and talking about how much he hated Phil and talking about, fuck him, I'm putting up billboards, and fuck him, I'm handing out postcards, that'd be a completely different case. Now, I don't want Phil to win these cases. I don't want Phil to even be able to file these cases. I want him to lose the Scranton Times. But if he goes the case, if he takes a case with Nick Alvear, he's got a hell of a lot better chance than he does against the Scranton Times.
Hometown, making phone calls, to followers, sending messages to followers. It's such an extreme length of harassment that it's not only defamation at this.
Chris Kelly handled it professionally, right? He wrote his article. He went on about his life. Right. He even tried to get a comment from Phil. Went on about his life. But if Chris Kelly would have spent the next year like trying to do all this shit and calling Phil out and saying I hate him so much, blah, 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 after he flip-flopped on him and was like, Phil's not a pedophile, and then it's like, Phil is a pedophile, this would be a much different case here, too, at the Scranton Times.
At this point, it borders on criminal harassment, which we are also looking into.
It borderlines on criminal harassment. I don't know what it takes to make a harassment case. I know that what they're doing is more likely to be harassment than not if they didn't do it. But yeah, billboards are one thing. If you're advertising your movie, paying someone to go around the neighborhood that you live in and hand out little 3x5 cards, which I guess all they said on them was a red pill of Netflix, the greatest fraud ever, goodline.tv or whatever. I don't know. Is that harassment? I have no idea. I really don't know what it would take to make a harassment case, criminal or civil harassment. I don't know what the tenets are you'd have to reach. I guess we'd have to call a lawyer and ask.
The screenshots of messages that Nick Alvear...
Yeah, they had billboards put up in Phil's hometown. And some people were like, his kids will see that, or his kids' friends will see that when they go to school or whatever. So there was 2 billboards there, plus a mobile billboard that drove around. Phil got them taken down after a couple days. Then Phil went to Hawaii. He was scheduled to go to Hawaii like after so long. And when he went to Hawaii, they had someone handing out postcards. The postcard just said the greatest fraud, or whatever the name of the film is, on one side. And on the other side, it said the Netflix of red pills, goodline.tv or goodlinetv.com or whatever. That's the same thing the billboard said. The greatest fraud ever, red pill of Netflix, the billboards. Phil got the billboards taken down after a few days because the company the company didn't side either way. They didn't say, we think Phil's a pedo or we don't think he's a pedo. They decided, we don't want to get sued. Right? This guy's threatening to sue. We don't want to get sued. Then they hired someone in Hawaii to hand out those little postcards to all Phil's neighbors. So they found out where he lived and hired somebody to walk around the community and hand out those little postcards to people. Then when Phil came back and landed in Scranton in his local airport, at the airport desk, they had advertised, and Phil ended up taking a picture of that at the airport desk. He took a picture of him standing in front of it and said something about, I'll grab the picture, hold on. It said something about 4 years on top, whatever. This is the best you can do. I think it was the best 4 years of being number one. It says 4 years of being number one, from hundreds of followers to millions, from flat broke to mega rich, from down and out to no income, no custody of my kids, no plans for the future, to way on top. My boy's superhero, 2 amazing stepdaughters, and generational entrepreneurship. All of that, and this is the best they can do. Y'all won't ever stop me, and you know it 100%. So I don't like the post he made. I think it's a little too braggadocious. But I do think the best thing that he can do, he can't get all these taken down. He can't stop all, he can try, but still people are going to see it. The best thing he could do was act like it didn't bother him. So this is what the billboard said: a deep dive into Scranton's most infamous criminal, the greatest fraud on earth, the Phil Godlewski story. Watch it free, goodline.tv, goodline.tv. This is the same as the billboards and the same as the postcards, but the postcards, this bottom part was on the back, and it said something about the Netflix of red pills. But the billboards look like this as well, I believe. The post is a little cringe. The posing with it and acting like it doesn't bother him is the best way he could have responded, if there's a good way to respond to it. Yeah, they said there's going to be more advertising starting tomorrow or something, is what people told me. He's on his live stream right now.
Shows in his film at multiple areas, and claims that they were from Verizon are not actually from Verizon.
I did hear him, so I guess we were all wrong on this. I think Phil may have had Verizon at the time, was the reason we were all thinking that. Yeah, they decided that. Yeah, they think it's. If I would have seen, if I would have seen the postcard, I would have just been really confused, I think. Like the postcard didn't tell me any information. I don't think I would have went to, if I walk out and there's like a postcard underneath my wiper and it says I would have thought it was something to do with like a church or like a track. The greatest fraud in history. I thought it had been something like Satan. And then go to this website to watch now. I would have been aggravated and threw it away, but I wouldn't have went to the website. I don't know if they measured any metrics to see if it was, to see if it worked at all, to see if like there was a big spike in views. I wouldn't have went there. If I'd have saw the billboard, maybe I would have went there. There's sometimes like I've seen a website on a billboard and thought, what's that? But if it would have been like stuck underneath my windshield wiper, there's no way.
At all. The only records that ever came from Verizon Wireless were on a CD that were mailed to the district attorney's office. Those records never made their way into my case whatsoever. The records that Nick Alvear shows are actually from a forensic analysis from the victim's phone and from the victim's phone only. Now keep in mind, we talked about earlier in the documentary that the subpoenas and search warrants were issued for multiple devices that I owned. My cell phone, my then fiance's cell phone.
So he just said the bill. Everybody keeps saying Verizon. It's not Verizon. It's AT&T. That's actually true. Let me see here. I may be one of the only people who has this. I don't know. Other people might have it. I have the bill, the full bill. And you can take this bill and you can compare it to and it is from AT&T. See it right there? https www.attnt.com/views/bill pay call details .doview. And you can take this and compare it to the text messages that were submitted to the court. And of course, this doesn't have the text messages, but you can compare it and the number. Now you have to remember that these times are in Zulu. These are not like Eastern Standard Times. And the one that they've got, they're just like 5 hours difference, basically. But this is the actual bill that was submitted to the court from Bree's mom. And it's got phone calls at the top, and here are the text messages. New text message, MTM text message, MTM. These are all the text messages down here. It's quite a big bill, but you can compare these timestamps to the other timestamps that the court submitted. You have to, like I said, you have to do the math. They're off by 5 hours or something like that. But still, these are all the multimedia messages down at the bottom. Data messages, data transfers, data messages, data transfers. This is the entire bill for. Let's see if it's got the dates on it. And it is from AT&T, like he said. I think Phil might have had Verizon at the time. Last payment received is 5/23/11. View details, view usage since last bill. And these text messages start on February 14th, 2010. So this would have been after he was already arrested and charged. These were after that point. But you can match up a bunch of these. I had me and Jessa both went through them and matched up a bunch of them.
On my laptop, my business was searched. All of that evidence came up with nothing. None of these messages ever existed on any other device other than the victim's phone. And what's more important than that is that the forensic examiner himself noted in his report that these conversations between me and the purported victim of the case were not actually text messages.
Cellbrite cable 110 for accessing phone. Phone not recognized by Cellbrite. Now, this doesn't say they're not actually text messages. It says phone not recognized by Cellbrite. Email account on the phone. Hold on just a second. I'd like to see this document in full.
forensic examiner himself noted in his report.
Cell phone forensic analysis. Incident number X4300359198. Lab number, date, Officer Steve. This is when they sent it to the state police, right? From the Taylor police. Submitted by requesting officer. Phone number 507-662-2210. Evidence by Corporal Derek Fozard. Analyst is Corporal Derek Fozard. It's an 8 gigabyte iPhone V3.12 from Apple.
Report that the
phone number is removed, but it's 570. Service provider AT&T. IMEI ID. SIM card number and description.
Conversations between
Phone not recognized by Celebrite. Is Celebrite like the Accelerate Justice with Celebrite? It's the digital intelligence suite of solutions, empowers law enforcement, governments, and enterprises to collect, review, and analyze and manage data. Phone not recognized by Celebrite. Celebrite cable 110 for accessing phone. Phone not recognized by Celebrite. I wonder what would have caused that. Celebrite is a legal third party that does, or legal third party program that does the data collection and everything. Wonder why the phone wouldn't be recognized.
Between me and the 01202008839 is the IMEI number. Software 1.11 UFAD, full image 1.024, tiny image 1.021. So they took an image, they got a full image from the phone. No SD micro card found in phone. reported victim of the case.
And that says the email account on her phone.
Were not actually text messages.
The following data was extracted and none of those boxes are checked.
They were something else. We never actually got to find out what that's.
They were something else. We never got to find out what that was. That sounds more like, it sounds more like no one told him this, but they saw this document. They said, when we go to court, we're going to attack them because they can't check a box. Kind of deal.
Something else was, and that's noted directly in his report because at the preliminary hearing, the prosecution never submitted any of this evidence as the basis to go to trial. The only thing that the prosecution did at the preliminary hearing, which for those of you that don't know is an evidentiary hearing to determine if you go to trial.
I do read the chat. I do see you saying, look, Cliff High. Why?
The only thing that they presented was the victim's.
I don't trust Cliff High at all. So I'm not going to look for him to explain anything.
Testimony. The victim recused herself from testifying by pleading the Fifth Amendment. At that point, the entire case should have been dropped legally. In this particular case, with these text messages and receipts that Mr. Alvear continues to say are accurate, these are not only not text messages, they are also not from me. And furthermore, we could show a
sounds more like they were planning on attacking the boxes not checked than anything.
Series of
that was Bree's phone.
Fabricated, fraudulent, and purposeful acts to try to frame me. We were prepared to present that at trial.
He's trying to defend the video that was made against him.
My attorney, my criminal defense attorney in this case, did present it to the district attorney's office prior to the plea deal. That, and at that point.
What did you say? My attorney what?
Trial, fraudulent, and purposeful acts to try to frame me. We were prepared to present that at trial. My attorney, my criminal defense attorney in this case, did present it to the district attorney's office prior to the plea deal. We were prepared to present that at trial. My attorney, my criminal defense attorney in this case, did present it to the district attorney's office prior to the plea deal. And at that point is when the district attorney started to negotiate with.
Yeah, but that's just here. Like, you cannot prove that. Why didn't your attorney testify to that when he was on video, saying, "Oh, your attorney had all this stuff to say"? Why didn't he come out and say, "Oh, all the text messages were fabricated"? Wouldn't that have been the guy to hear it from, not Phil again? We should have heard, "Oh, all the text messages were fake."
The mother of the alleged victim provided partial cell phone records for her daughter from AT&T. However, Mr. Alvear mistakenly slated in his film that the documents he was showing were from Verizon. These records were actually obtained through a forensic examination of the victim's phone, revealing text messages from March 14th onwards.
So this is the text messages we see in, that is, first of all, it's not March 14th. That says February 10th. Those are the text messages we see. And the first one here is February 14th. Well, let's go down the messages. These are all calls. Basically, like any teenager, she texts a hell of a lot more than she calls. So do I. I hate phone calls. I fucking hate phone calls. Don't call me, ever. 222 seems to be the first text message. February 22nd, 2010. This one starts at February 10th. Didn't they just say March?
Documents he was showing were from Verizon.
Actually, I'm sorry. Some of them are in Eastern Standard Time. Some of them are in Greenwich Mean Time. And that was the two time zones.
These records were actual cell phone records for her daughter from AT&T. However, Mr. Alvear mistakenly slated in his film that the documents he was showing were from Verizon. These records were actually obtained through a forensic examination of the victim's phone, revealing text messages from March 14th onwards. It is important to note that the text messages displayed in Nick's film exclude any messages prior to March 12th. The billing period for the cell phone records in question spanned from March 14th, 2010 to April 11th, 2010. According to the investigation team led by Godlewski, an analysis of records before and including March 12th would have shown.
Hold on.
Displayed in Nick's film exclude any messages prior to March 12th. The billing period for the cell phone records in question spanned from March 14th, 2010 to April 11th, 2010. According to the examination of the victim's phone, revealing text messages from March 14th onwards. It is important to note that the text messages displayed in Nick's film exclude any messages prior to March 12th. The billing period for the cell phone records
He excluded any messages prior to March 12th.
in question spanned from March 14th, 2010 to April 11th, 2010. According
Now, I've never seen this document here. That doesn't look like either one of the documents I've seen.
to the investigation team led by Godlewski, an analysis of records before and including March 12th would have shown fabricated exchanges between Bree's phone and a device that was not Phil's, despite requests for.
So if they would have pulled them, Phil's claim is if they would have pulled the text messages before March 12th, they would have seen all the fake ones, but they didn't. In June 2011, a detective in Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office requested a copy of my cell phone records that I could access from my provider, AT&T, for phone number 570-510-7619 from February and March 2010. Let's read this whole thing. In 2010, my daughter, Bree, was on my cell phone plan, and my provider was AT&T. My daughter's Bree cell phone number in 2010 and 2011 was 570-510-7619. In early 2010, I contacted the Taylor Borough Police because Phil Godlewski, an adult, was involved in an inappropriate relationship with my daughter, Bree, who was a minor. In 2010, my daughter, Bree's cell phone was provided to the police, and I gave them authorization to download the text message between my daughter, Bree, and Phil Godlewski from her cell phone. In 2010, my daughter was interviewed by a detective, and she told the detective she had been involved in a sexual relationship with Phil Godlewski. In June of 2011, a detective in the Lackawanna County District's office requested a copy of my cell phone records that I could access from my provider, which is what we end up here with. This is obviously, she's doing this herself. The cops would never get like a sheet like this, right? This is something she submitted at their request or because she wanted to, that I could access from my provider, AT&T, for phone number 570-510-7619. Hold on just a second. Let me top this up.
Also, an analysis of records before and including March 12th would have shown fabricated exchanges between Bree's phone and a device that was not Phil's. Despite requests for all cell phone statements from February and March, Ms. Dubourgel did not provide them.
In this particular case,
What was that? Despite
Device that was not Phil's. Despite requests for all cell phone statements from February and March, Ms. Dubourgel did not.
So this seems like after this was after that he was charged, right? Hold on. This seems like the burner phone part, right? Does it not? Because he pled in 2010. For the time period February 14th, 2010 through March 12th, 2010. He pled in November of 2010. He was arrested in July. Accused of having an ongoing sexual. A former Riverside High School baseball coach was accused of having sex with a 15-year-old girl, pleaded guilty Friday to 1 count of corruption of minors. The first-degree misdemeanor means Phil Godlewski, 27, of Scranton, will face up to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine, said a district attorney, Patricia Lafferty. Mr. Godlewski was arrested in July and charged with statutory sexual assault, aggravated indecent assault, intimidating a witness or victim, indecent assault, and related offenses. He faces no minimum prison term or fine, Ms. Lafferty said. His sentencing will be scheduled within 90 days. Mr. Godlewski, a native of Taylor, was accused of having an ongoing sexual relationship with the victim, whom he met while coaching at Riverside. He also was a realtor affiliated with Simeon I don't know why I can say that, Simeon Real Estate Group, and most recently coached the Taylor team in District 11 American League Baseball. Authorities said they had thousands of text messages between Mr. Godlewski and the girl, many extraordinarily explicit. The Times Tribune does not identify victims of sexual assault. A few weeks after Mr. Godlewski's arrest, another man was also accused of a sexual relationship with the same girl. Thomas B. Neslow, 33, of Old Forge, was charged with corruption of minors and child endangerment. Dennis J. O'Malley, staff writer, contributed this story. Contact the writer here.
Provide them. Changes between Bree's phone and a device that was not Phil's. Despite requests for all cell phone statements from February and March, Ms. Dubourgel did not provide them.
in this particular case, the forensic report for those messages indicates that they were not text messages at all, that they were something else.
I don't think that's what it says. You're relying off the reason the box is not checked in the next level, saying that they're not text message at all. I don't think you're going to get that. I wonder if here's a question. I wonder if when it says phone not recognized by Celebrite, I wonder if Celebrite has a database of phones that, so all of law enforcement uses it. Federal government uses it. I'm sure other federal government uses it. I wonder if they mean phone not recognized, like it hasn't been, like it's not a phone they've already scanned or something that's already in their system. I wonder if that's what it means.
To the district attorney's office prior to the plea deal. And at that point is when the district attorney started to negotiate with me.
The mother of the alleged victim provided partial cell phone records for her daughter from AT&T. However, Mr. Alvear mistakenly slated in his film that the documents he was showing were from Verizon. These records were actually obtained through a forensic examination of the victim's phone, revealing
I do think there should have been a box checked down below that. The following data was extracted or whatever it said, or the following the following data was extracted, I think's what it said, or the following data was recovered. I think there should have been a box check there.
Text messages from March 14th onwards. It is important to note that the text messages displayed in Nick's film exclude any messages prior to March 12th. The billing period.
Yeah, like once you plug it in, they'll say, okay, well, Celebrite already has a scan of this phone from October of 2001. Maybe.
The cell phone records in question spanned from March 14th, 2000.
I've used a program that does this, but it was like a regular open to the public program. It wasn't like a forensic tool. It was like an open source program.
To April 11th, 2010. According to the investigation team led by Godlewski, an analysis of records before and including March 12th would have shown fabricated exchanges between Bree's phone and a device that was not Phil's. Despite requests for all cell phone statements from February and March, Ms. Dubourgel did not provide them.
Well, what else is there? Hold on.
Cell phone statements from February and March, Ms. Dubourgel.
Damn it. I couldn't phrase it quick enough. Sorry.
Not Phil's. Despite requests for all cell phone statements from February.
A true and correct copy of AT&T records wireless user data I provided to the district attorney's office in June 2011 is attached here to as a March Exhibit A. I printed out the records wireless user details Exhibit A on 6/22/2011 from my AT&T wireless account. The record 6/22/2011, and they were texts from 2010. This was after the first time he had been busted. I wonder if it's a burner phone instead of his main phone at the time. Because, he was busted a couple different times. Like, the school busted him, but he wasn't prosecuted for a long time after that. And she sent letters and stuff to the school and talked about the earrings and shit like that. The records marked as Exhibit A, Scranton Times 3193 to 3499, are genuine and authentic copies of the records I printed from my AT&T wireless account in June of 2011. I, Linda, do hereby swear and affirm the statements made in this affidavit are true and correct to my personal knowledge, information, and or belief. I'm of sound mind and I make this affidavit of my own free will. I understand that false statements herein are made subject to the penalties of 18 PACSA 49. I feel so bad for Bree. Like, how long have people, like, not only have like, first of all, everybody kind of wishes she would have just testified in the original case, right? But she didn't. And then you think that would die down. Even if it died down, how much of her life did she spend like seeing people whisper and point, or maybe even people outright come out and be like, weren't you the person that was, fucking the baseball coach? That would follow her in a small town. Like, I live in a small town. In a small town, that follows you forever. Right? She could be 60 and somebody be like, that's that girl that was, with the baseball coach when I was in high school or whatever. Now, not only that, but then Phil gets this mega platform and just fucking, she's a liar. She's conniving. She set me up. She wanted to be with me. She wanted to be part of this. She wanted to, for years and years and years. And then finally she gets fucking tired of it. And it's like, look, I just want you to tell the truth. Then she gets fucking sued. That's awful, dude. That's fucking awful.
In March, Ms. Dubourgel did not provide them.
In this particular case, the forensic report for those messages indicates that they were not text messages at all, that they were something else. And the only reason that they were extracted from the victim's phone was that my name was attached to them. The text messages that were on the AT&T wireless bill that was provided by the victim's mother were directly from AT&T Wireless. Again, there's been so much talk about Verizon. The victim never had Verizon. The victim had AT&T.
I think Phil had Verizon. I think that's where we're getting the Verizon thing for. C2 from wireless details for 5/7/10, 570, 510, 7619. Uh-oh, hold on. My screen went black for a second. And then we have this one. Why is my screen going black? Stop it. And this is the one where his name is misspelled, which was one of his claims as well. This is the one from the actual document. And these are supposedly pulled from Phil Godlewski's cell phone. Right? Oh, this one refresh. The fuck? And if we go down to, let's see. Seven 780-45-67. There's one to 222, but when do they start? They start on 210. So if we go down to 222. That's a MTM text message. 222 at 616. We've already done this once, but I'm trying again. Oh, fuck. 224. I'm an idiot. 224 is when they start. I don't know why I said 210. 224. It's the years 2010. I'm so used to it being the 23 and 24 year, I can't even get to it. That's where we're all getting Verizon. That's the ones that were pulled with a search warrant from Verizon. I know Phil likes to say his name's misspelled, so that's not him. All right, 224. And what time are we looking for? 224 at 1950 GMT, 1950-29. I forget how many hours it was off. But we should see a 50 here somewhere. Was it 4 hours or 5 hours that was off? $570, no. I think it'd be 550 if I remember correctly. 550, 570-784-4567. So this is text message 4500 on this list right here, right? And it is at 5:50 p.m. 2/24/2010, 5:50 p.m. 570-780-4567. An MTM message, one message in. And if we go here, it says 570-780-4567. And this is tied to the 4567. And it says February 24, 2010, 1950 and 29 seconds. Red, inbox, phone incoming. I get out at 3. Same thing. Red, inbox, phone incoming. I get out at 3. Then the very next one is at 7:51, which means it'll be 5:51 here. So if we go to 5:51, or here at 5:50, so they do a rounding thing, but this one is 5:50, 2/24, 5:50, 570, same message out. Outgoing at on his phone it says at 51 on the dot. So if on her phone it said 50, it said 50, 59, then that would be counted as 50. So there's 51, 51, 51, 51. And over here we have 50, and then we have 620. Oh, these are different ones. 570, we're looking for the 780. These are all the text messages. The other list is just the ones from Phil. 570-780. We compared a bunch of these. Like I shouldn't be coming up with anything new. I think I did the whole list. I think Jessa did too, to see how many of them were relatable. Oh, wait. Am I looking at the wrong number? Hold on. Am I looking for the wrong number? Yeah, I am. Hold on. That was 550 and 551. Okay. 780-4567. God, there's so many text messages. And there's some of them that are like MMS messages that are like pictures or GIFs or something sent back and forth that are in a different list, the third list. So there's phone calls, text messages, then like MMS messages. And those are all separated on different lists. Damn it, where's the 780 number? I can't believe, and also Bree, when we're talking about, like I said, I feel sorry for Bree. Like her best friend turned on her from high school and started fucking Phil, right? Her best friend, there's one. 225 at 232. 225 at 232. So we should have one here for 225. And it's 232. So here it would be 225, 224, 224, 225, 193206. Anyways, you can go match these up. Her best friend started fucking Phil, and it's like huge. It's like fucking huge in 7K and all that. Yeah, it's just wild. All right, let's get back to it.
We know that because there's an AT&T bill with the victim's mother's name on it. And in addition to that, we have an email to the school.
But he doesn't explain this document at all. So this is pulled from Phil, right? Phil Godlewski's cell phone. And I'm pretty sure this is a burner phone at this point, but it was still through Verizon. That's the Verizon search warrant is what turned up with this. And this does, so an AT&T bill wouldn't hurt them any good, because your bill, unless you there used to be on Verizon, you could log in and like check a box to where it would actually record the messages. But if you didn't do that, if you didn't get detailed billing, it was just like text message out, text message in. So you could see how many times they were texting somebody and who they were texting, but you couldn't tell the message from it. This is actually pulled and put into a spreadsheet by Cellbrite or whatever. That's what this is.
School district in which the victim's mother says, attached is my AT&T bill, my daughter's name and phone number is such and such. So what had happened here was the victim's mother supplied all of her AT&T records to the school district. The school district and the victim's mother then supplied those same records to the district attorney's office. The district attorney's office...
He keeps talking about the bill, but he's not talking about the spreadsheet that was auto-generated from pulling the data.
For reasons unbeknownst to me, never put the fraudulent text messages extracted from the victim's phone next to the AT&T text messages. It was never done. How do I know it was never done? Because the timestamps on the AT&T bill from the victim show that conversations were actually occurring between myself and the victim. However, the content of those text messages is supposed to be the same content of the fabricated messages that were extracted from the victim's phone. If you look at the timestamps of both of those side by side, the fraudulent messages that were fabricated, in my opinion and my attorney's opinion, that were taken from the victim's phone were not on the actual AT&T cell phone bill at all.
Yes, they are. I just showed you that with a couple of them. Like, yeah, they're off by 5 hours, but that's the difference between. Hold on. Greenwich Mean Time is 5 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, I just showed you that. Yes, they are. And me and Jessa went through the list. One of them's in military time, and one of them's, in standard time, AM, PM. But even if you take that away and put them both in military time, there's still 5 hours difference. And I think Jessa would say the same thing. She went through them all as well.
Timestamps are not there. Ironically, and yet even more evidence that this was a fabrication, is that the AT&T bill, the actual conversations that were.
But who could have fabricated those? Who could have possibly fabricated those? One is just, so did AT&T do it? Or did the government do it when they extracted all those? Who could have possibly fabricated those?
Occurring between me and the victim that had nothing to do with sexual anything. Those timestamps on the bill do not exist in the fabricated text messages that were extracted.
Well, I would say that is this a rundown of every message between them, or is this just the messages that they planned on using in court? I would like to think it would every message between them, but they said, we've read all these. They said they had thousands of messages, and I don't think we read thousands of messages. I noticed some of them are doubled up, and I was curious that if some of these doubled up ones, like not even just twice. Some of them are like in here like 3 times, like back to back, and some of them aren't. Is that when like someone likes it or reacts to it? Maybe. So on my phone currently, and this is, 2024, if I send a text message to my sister, I get a text message back that says, the same text that I sent, and then it says reacted to with a thumbs up. Yeah, there's no way high schoolers were doing this back in 2010 or whatever. We're like able to match the timestamps perfectly and put them back up. So red from the inbox, phone, incoming, outgoing, incoming. Not to mention, if I send a text, let's say I send a text message at 10 p.m. and let's say you don't have service until, and I sent it, it's gone. And you don't have service till 10:05, and that's when you receive it. Would my phone say that I sent it at 10 p.m. and your phone say that you received it at 10:05? Or would it also say 10 p.m. because that was when it was originally sent? I don't think it could if it didn't have service, right? It would have to stamp it as soon as service came back. And we're talking about, 2010. I'm sure service wasn't as good there. At least I live like in a rural place. And, there's hit and miss places. The service cuts out for a few minutes here and a few minutes. There's still places that I can drive to in my county that have no service. You're just out of service. Hell, where I live doesn't have service. I have to use Wi-Fi to get messages at the house.
From the victim's phone. There has to be a direct correlation between these messages.
At 10:05, thanks. Yeah, I don't think it could possibly tell, because what if you never received that message, right? It couldn't just say that you received it at 10.
As evidence in the eyes of a court. When this information was presented to the district attorney's office, when my private investigator, when my forensic team, and when my defense attorney presented this.
That's the sequence number, I guess. Hold on. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But on here, they're numbered 2514, 2515, 2516, 2517. I wonder if that's an echo. So if they were both on iPhones at the time was the only one that you got a check mark that they had been delivered. I wonder if that's an echo back, like delivered. And that's why it shows up twice. They're both read. They're both inbox. They're both phone. They're both incoming. A read report is what it's called, I think. iPhones are the only ones that did it at the time. Now Samsung will do it with other Samsungs, or my phone works, but you can turn it off too.
Lack of
But for the longest time, only iPhones did it.
clarity and lack
Maybe
of
a tower thing.
connection between the actual cell phone bill provided by AT&T and the messages extracted from the forensic report. The district attorney caved, as they had to.
We showed them, like, here's the bill, here's the forensic report, they caved. They didn't cave. They just didn't. They gave you a plea deal. Plea deals happen every day. That doesn't mean they caved. Almost always. I can't think of a case. Maybe if it's, no. I was going to say maybe if it's like a cop killer case, but they do pleas and those two. Almost always, they would rather take a plea deal. Can you guys think of an issue that would come up in a case where a prosecutor wouldn't? I mean, like if they got to make their deal and they liked the deal, obviously because they made it, where they wouldn't be like, no deal, we're going to court no matter what. I was just trying to think of an example. I don't know one.
Actual cell phone bill provided by AT&T and the messages extracted from the forensic report. The district attorney caved, as they had to, because they knew there was a defect in their case. That is called nolo pros, and that's why every charge that I was charged with the exception of one that had nothing to do with sexual anything, that's why all of those charges were nolo pros.
Nol pros is a Latin term meaning we shall no longer prosecute. Typically, it is a declaration made to the judge by a prosecutor or the plaintiff in a criminal action case. It doesn't mean a case is dismissed as an acquittal, but the admission is for one or multiple charges that cannot be proved, and that evidence has demonstrated either innocence or a
It does not mean that it can't be proved. It just means we have decided not to prosecute. In fact, like, there are tons of people who take plea deals and get nolle pros. It depends on what state you're in, what lingo they use. But my charges say nolle pros, and they could have 100% proven mine, right? Just because I took a deal, the probation and expungement. I pulled up that Reddit post where the guy's like, look, I took this deal and I don't know what the fuck these charges here mean. They had me red-handed, and they're like, oh, it just means they decided not to prosecute. That's it.
fatal flaw in the prosecution's claim. In this case, the prosecution
I guarantee you,
nol pros, which resulted in
on 5 is the biggest stock footage out there. It probably is.
Felony charges being dropped against Godlewski, and ultimately only a misdemeanor charge was pleaded as a concession to wrap up the case before going to trial.
I gotta stop. I gotta stop stopping so much.
This misdemeanor did not contain any references to sexual misconduct.
Ultimately, the district attorney decided that these charges need to be nolo pros. Nolo pros is an admission by the charging body that we can no longer prosecute this individual because there is a defect in this particular charge against them.
Well, clearly,
it can mean that.
The state of Pennsylvania.
It can mean that. It also just means just to abandon or dismiss the charges, right? We're not prosecuting that right now.
The prosecutors in the case, I bit off more than they could chew in this. My experience is, if
I don't believe this statement at all. They didn't bite off more than they could chew. They were trying to represent a 15-year-old girl, and when she backed out of the case, they were left with their fucking cheeks in the wind or whatever, right? Like, they were trying to represent her. She kept getting text messages and burner phones and threats of unaliving and everything else. She decided to change her testimony.
If a minor makes a complaint, the initial knee-jerk reaction is to believe them when you're a prosecutor. Through our discovery and through our private detective work that we did, we showed that the Commonwealth, that they really had problems with the case, and we came to a compromise resolution. Why this person made the accusations, I don't know. I'm not in her head, but I know they were not substantiated, and they couldn't be substantiated, and that was the reason that we negotiated a very good resolution on our part.
All nolle pros means is that the prosecutor decided not to keep going with the case, basically, for whatever reason. For a plea deal, because they don't have evidence, because, their witness dropped out or they found out that it didn't happen. That's all it means. And depending on what state you're in, they'll use different lingo. Some will use nolle pros, some will use dismiss, some will use whatever, suspended.
In Alvear's film, he indicates that the minor victim, Bree, pulled herself out of the case against me, and that is the reason that the charges against me were...
even in the fucking legal dictionary here, it says nolle prosecute is a Latin phrase meaning will no longer prosecute, or a variation on the same. It amounts to a dismissal of the charges by the prosecution. Some states, like New York, for example, don't use the phrase. Rather, they simply use the term dismissal. The prosecution invokes nolle prosecute or dismissal when it has decided to discontinue a prosecution or part of it. Lawyers and judges refer to charges as nolle prost or dismissed. The prosecution may nolle prost all charges against the defendant or only some. In some states, the prosecution must move to dismiss the charges, often in the interest of justice, and the case doesn't end until the court grants the motion. In others, the prosecution can unilaterally dismiss, nolle prost, any charges at any time. A prosecutor might nolle prost or dismiss charges for a variety of reasons. Some of them include a reevaluation of the evidence, emergence of new evidence, failure of witness to cooperate, desire to give the defendant a second chance, or a plea deal. Like that, it's written all over. I don't know why he keeps saying this.
Nolle prost that we mentioned before. That's not the case. During the investigation phase, after my arrest, and while my defense team was trying to defend against these charges, there were 3, possibly 4 separate occasions that Bree met with the detectives from Lackawanna County and told them.
And in 2008, you have to recognize that evidence with technology has changed over the years. Now, I don't know how juries may have felt about cell phone evidence in 2010, but maybe juries were more prejudiced against cell phone evidence. Like, well, just because it come from his cell phone doesn't mean he did it. What if it was, somebody else, or what if it was a hacker, or what if it is? And now we look at like technology as like the number one way that people get busted. But I remember a time where people were like, they can fabricate anything on the internet. They can fabricate anything on your phone. No one knows what's going on there, blah, blah, blah. So you have to take into account that the prosecutor is looking at what will a jury, not what do I believe or what do I have the evidence for, what can I prove to a jury? What will a jury trust or whatever? And I don't know how that might have been taken in 2010 versus 2024.
Them that the way that this case is going and the charges that were brought against me are not legitimate. When she went in and said that, the detectives from Lackawanna County told her that if that's the case, you've committed a felony by filing a false police report. They scared her into withdrawing her charges against me for the fear that she would be convicted of a felony.
I don't think this ever happened, or at least it's documented anywhere, that when she was like, I want to change my story, and they're like, oh, you're going to get a felony. I just don't see them treating a minor victim like that. You know what I mean? Like, clearly they knew when she was meeting with the counselor that she was kind of brainwashed. It took, like, sometimes she would say it and sometimes she would just be quiet. And then she denied it for years. Like, she's a minor victim. You think they were pressing a minor victim so hard. They're like, you're going to catch a felony. You better testify.
By filing a false police report. In addition to that,
that's true,
Bree was now left with seemingly no choice but to testify against me to a crime that is a falsity, or face charges.
Oh God, Bert, get out of here!
We ended up speaking to a defense attorney.
Sorry.
The defense attorney suggested to her that she plead the Fifth Amendment during the preliminary hearing, which was the evidentiary hearing against me. By doing so, Bree excluded herself as a witness to the case.
I don't think Bree's ever said this either, that she was threatened, that she had to testify. I don't think she wanted. In Bree's head, whether you like it or not, in Bree's head, she believes that legally she wasn't allowed to have this. She understands the age of consent laws. She's not dumb. But she has, in as many text messages we've seen, she believes that she was more mature and made this decision of her own, and Phil did not manipulate her at all. She says this much in her own statements. That doesn't matter in the court of law, right? I don't care if you're 11 and say, well, I'm an adult and I decided, to have sex. It doesn't stand up in court, but that's what she believes. Even in her text message, she's like, people don't understand. We were in love. They want to make you out to be this monster, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that she wanted to testify from the get-go. And any thoughts of suicide or you're the only one that can save me kind of deal, that just weighed on her more. I'm proud of her for coming forward now and telling the truth. But I mean, it's got to be hard as a 15-year-old girl, and you're in front of your family and your friends and the whole fucking neighborhood.
She did no longer have to demand that the charges were dropped and potentially incriminate herself, which is what the Fifth Amendment does for someone testifying under oath. So she saved herself. Seemingly, she saved me. All of my charges right after that, the very next day, were nolo prost. And the case ended without any sort of sexual conviction. Back in 2010, as my defense team and my private investigators were preparing for trial, because that's where we intended to go with this, we wanted to take this to full length to get a complete exoneration of all of these charges. In our preparation for trial, we uncovered through interviews from my private investigator that there were at least 4 individuals that were classmates with Bree that had witnessed in a group environment. I believe it was at some sort of social function, whether it was a party or it was a baseball game or a basketball game, something.
I'll be honest with you. In a small town, I think Phil's making this up, but in a small town like I grew up in, like Phil's talking about, music or Taylor or whatever, it's not hard to get people to take sides. So like, let's say something pops up with a popular baseball coach or school teacher or something. You'll immediately, before any evidence is out, before anything happens, you'll immediately have people saying, I knew it. I knew the whole time he was a piece of shit. And other people saying, I can't believe they're trying to do to this. This is Satan coming after him. When our sheriff was corrupt as fuck and got a brain injury on a jet ski, and then they hauled him over to the jail and said that he was inspecting the roof and fell off, there was literally people the day the charges come out saying, this is just Satan trying to get after it. It's good God-fearing man. This is what happens to you. Satan's going to get you down. Satan, 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 Satan. I can't believe people would do this to him. Like, it's so like it's the day of. As soon as people watch the news, they've already decided, like, this guy did it or this guy didn't do it. And it's not hard to find people that'll be like, oh, yeah, I heard her conniving. People, I don't know if they just want to be involved or it's because they've already chosen a side or what. But, like, I've literally seen this with stuff happen, and people that weren't even there will pop up and be like, yeah, I've heard her before, or I've heard him before say he was going to get that person. I don't think he ever liked him. Like, it probably wouldn't be hard to do that.
That Bree and 2 of her friends told these 4 individuals who were taking sworn affidavits for and were ready to testify at trial that Bree had lied about the majority of the things that she said about me, and that much of the case was fabricated between Bree and her 2 friends. Bree went on to tell these individuals that she attempted to have these charges withdrawn with the district attorney, but the district attorney did not allow her to do so. Those affidavits were signed and submitted to my defense team, which we fully intended to call as witnesses at trial. In Nick's film, he appears to put a lot of emphasis and a lot of influence on these messages that were supposedly
right. If he had this, then why not go to trial?
The victim and myself.
He said we already planned to go all the way to trial.
In stark contrast to what Nick represents in his film, the truth of the matter is that not only are these messages fabricated, but we have completely contradictory messages that show Bree multiple times admitting to multiple people that the content of the criminal charges that were rendered against me, as well as the severity of those charges, are simply not true. We have depositional testimony from my mother in the case, who recently was deposed in the Scranton Times trial, that indicates Bree went to her house after she was declined by the district attorney to have the charges withdrawn. She went to my mother's house in Taylor, Pennsylvania, and told my mother in tears that these accusations were not truthful and that she's been trying to do everything that she could to get them dropped. In addition to that, we have messages back and forth on MySpace Messenger from Bree to my then fiance, my now ex-wife, in which Bree tells her the same exact thing that my mother testified to. In addition to that, I have America Online messages between Bree and I, in which she admits to me multiple times that these messages, or that these accusations are.
Oh, he said it was MySpace, didn't he? Now it's AOL Messenger. By the way, I do not believe it all. Phil's trying to submit those as if those are like something his lawyer did or like put together with his lawyer or some shit. I don't believe. Who draws those little arrows and underlines? And it's like, well, this, if you're submitting an evidence, you don't make a statement like, this is Bree saying this, and then 2 days later saying this and this. Like, that's something Phil put together. 100%. That's something Phil put together. Like, it's got to be, right? It's got to be. I don't know a lawyer that would do that.
not true, and that all she is trying to do is have a relationship with me, which of course caused me complete pause and forced me to stop my communication with Bree. At that point, she filed charges. The case was completely swayed in my favor by having these sworn statements given by these individuals. Regardless, we are where we are, but it's very important to note that these charges were attempted by Bree to be withdrawn, and only under fear of prosecution they weren't.
Fast forwarding several years from that initial Fifth Amendment plea to 2022, Bree was coerced to file an affidavit with statements that favor the Scranton Times defamation suit. That was a separate case, wherein Godlewski is suing the newspaper for defamation. Godlewski's response to Bree's affidavit was to file a defamation case against her, and that case is currently ongoing today in 2024.
Currently going on right now. It had to sue him.
Here, in a section of the film, references and highlights a changing of the Pennsylvania Penal Code in regards to charge 6301, corruption of morals, corruption of minors.
He gets this so wrong.
Was changed post conviction of me, meaning I think it was 3 or 4 months later after I signed my plea agreement and my case completely concluded. 3 or 4 months later, the state of Pennsylvania and the legislature from Pennsylvania said, you know what, we're going to make all of these charges under this particular penal code 6301, we're going to make all of them sexual. Alvear likes to say that since Pennsylvania did that, post my conviction, that anybody, including me, that pled to this 6301 code prior to the change must now also be a sexual crime. That's not how it works. When I made my plea in 2000,
that's obviously not true.
Not even anywhere near anything I was pleading to because they didn't happen yet. Had I known that what I was pleading to would have had to make me register as a sex offender, I would have never pled to it. I would have taken the case to trial and I would have won. Why? Because I was innocent and I could have proved that I was innocent. Alvear likes to say because there was a change in the law after my plea deal.
He would have went to trial, guys, but he just didn't.
It's the worst type of misrepresentation, manipulation, and juxtaposition of a journalist that I've ever seen, which is one of the primary reasons that I'm going to win in defamation court, in federal court, against Good Lion TV and Nick Alvear.
So it sounds like he still plans on suing.
There are a lot of people out there who are formulating opinions.
So he gets all this wrong, right? It included sexual. They took the sexual out of it and moved that part to a felony, right? That's what actually happened. They took all the sexual stuff that used to be attached to 6301 before and moved that to a felony charge and causes registration. Before the law changed, literally a month after he pled, not months, a month after he pled. Before that, it was the sexual stuff could be also included on that, the M1, 6301A1 M1. After that point, if it would have had any sexual connotation, it would have immediately been bumped to a felony. So he's got that backwards, the best I can tell. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like to me he's got it backwards there. But that's where I'll leave that, I guess. A little bit backwards, a little bit fucking Phil. He messes it up anyways.
Yeah. Without checking facts. And I'm not saying that I support Phil or that I don't support Phil, but I can tell you flat out that the allegations being made are not what the court decided. It's not what the end result was. Right. And when you think about the fact that the man happens to have 2 sons and now 2 daughters through the marriage, and his sons were allowed to be with him at his wedding, I don't think the courts would allow that. I don't think his ex-wife would allow those kids to be there in the Dominican Republic if he was a pedophile.
This isn't a good argument. By the way, this guy was a video camera operator. This isn't a good argument.
I just don't think that would happen, and I don't think that he would be. You know, we have laws in this country about sex offenders.
I did see this. I don't know if you guys have noticed this yet. Let's see if we can get this one open. Oh, goddamn! What is that? What is that? Is that his little? God damn it, Bert! You keep popping up everywhere. Jesus Christ. What are we going to do with this guy?
Register. Yeah. And he's not registered. So where do you come off calling somebody pedophile?
Again, the registration was another thing that was added. Once it was moved to a felony, automatic registration with that as well.
We had a discussion about this earlier. That what he pled to was not corrupting the morals of a minor, but something to do with the endangering the welfare of a minor. Right.
No, literally. This guy, I don't know why you would use this guy as an example. He comes out and says he didn't plead to corruption of a minor. He endangering the welfare of a minor. No, you literally had it right the first time when you said, no, he didn't plead guilty to that.
If you see a kid down the block, or you see a couple of 15-year-olds down the block, and they turn to you and say, hey, would you do me a favor? Here's $20. Would you go in and buy us a bottle of booze? And you go in and do it.
That's true, Sandy. Don't. He's already been busted in his depositions already. They're like, but you said this. Then he's like, oh, I thought you meant Do you have any text messages at all with the victim from your 2010 case? Nope. Then he shows up with text messages. He's like, oh, I thought you meant when she was a minor. Like, and the judge is like, what? Or he shows up with a screenshot, and the judge is like, a screenshot of a message is a message. Oh, I didn't know you meant a picture of a message counted. I thought you meant actual message. Like, he's already been called out a couple times. And then one time, my favorite part of the whole transcript is when he's like, can I say something? And the judge is like, no. You're not a member of the bar. You're not a lawyer. You're paying that guy right there a lot of money. So you tell him and he'll tell me. This isn't the internet, Mr. Godlewski.
Guess what? You're endangering, you're corrupting the morals of a minor. Okay, the drinking law is 21 years of age. That doesn't mean that you rape them. That doesn't mean that you have sex with them. If you go and you leave the kids in the car, you're endangering.
Yeah, but that's not what he was charged with. So this guy's making a bunch of arguments for endangering the safety of a minor. If you buy him alcohol, if you leave him in the car. But again, that's not what he was charged. He was charged with the first thing you said he wasn't charged with.
The welfare of a child. There's a whole bunch of things that feeds into, but none of
Jason's little Dubert
is what he pled to or what he was found guilty of. And I think that these people who are taking such a stance about it have.
I typed in this website the other day. I just saw it in a screenshot somebody had shared of this weird looking guy. It's like if Harry Potter never did anything with his life and ended up single and divorced and collected guitars. But anyways, I typed in this fakemedia.info. It takes you right to StreamYard to sign in. I thought I was going to be on the fucking show. There wasn't nobody there.
Not bothered to check their facts. They're getting, this is what I said earlier about the angry mobs. They're getting on the bandwagon and think that, if you've got a few hundred people there screaming the same thing, it makes it so. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Well, even though they show the receipts in the movie, the film?
They're not showing the receipts. When you go to trial, have you ever been to court?
No.
Okay. When you go to court, there is a procedure that's followed, and there's discovery, and you bring out evidence, and you bring out what you're charging the person with, and you bring out your supporting evidence. Well, when the defense attorney starts going at it and kicks all that stuff to the curb, and they dismiss all that information as non-factual, you can sit there and wave it all you want.
Yeah, midlife crisis, Harry Potter. The dude's fucking falling apart.
He said no. Okay, no basis for that. And that's what happened if you go and you check all the information. So
damn muggles.
You're taking the facts that you want to be facts and waving them in everybody's face and making them facts. And this is, look, 46 years in the mainstream media.
He drove his whole family away with QAnon conspiracies, and now he just collects guitars and cries.
I'm telling you, people make up what they want, and they put it out there, and if enough people say it, and I hate to say it about our own, but Americans are lazy. Okay, they're just plain lazy. They hear it. Oh, well, this guy said it. He said it on a podcast. It's got to be so. Or the anchor on Channel 2 said it. It's got to be so. No, get off your ass. Go look it up and find out the facts. Okay.
By the way, just for all the haters out there, I don't personally think I could ever be paid enough to. I know you guys just ducked your head and agreed with whatever Nick said because Nick made a movie, right? I get it. I don't think I could ever be paid enough to be, well, I don't think so, that I could ever be paid enough to be like, Phil's innocent and, Bree's fucking lying, blah, 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 to repeat that. I can be paid enough to just never mention Phil again, if that's what he wants. I can be paid enough to be like, all right, guys, we're a Homestead channel now, or we're this channel now, or we're that channel now, whatever. Definitely can be paid enough to do that.
Okay? And then make your decision. But until you go and you find out the facts, don't go and listen to somebody else and say, oh, it's got to be so. He said it, it's got to be so. No.
In this era of the Great Awakening, we cannot cannibalize our own. Instead, we need to unite arm in arm, ready to face the truths, and create a world where dialogue and understanding win over division and defamation.
I think this does. A lot of people is like, his video sucks, his video sucks, his video sucks. It's not for us, okay? I told you he was going to pay a big fancy fucking production company to do this. He probably paid tens of thousands of dollars for this, especially as short notice as it was. And to have, somebody come out and film him, and he didn't film it, right? Somebody come out. I know you guys will think it sucks. I think it sucks. What I said was his audience will eat that shit up. His audience will love this. I didn't think that it was going to sway any of you guys. He's going to pay a lot of money, and the people that he wants to affect with this, he will affect. They love this. He probably got emails saying, oh my God, I'm so glad this finally cleared up. I'm so glad. I even said that they'll be linking this everywhere. People were already telling him, like, I can't wait until someone says something. I can just share this video. Thank you for putting it out.
My desire is for others to learn my story, and no matter what side you're on, make decisions based on truth, supported by facts. As we tackle current struggles in this life together, I invite you to move through these challenges thoughtfully, and together we will bond through a common goal of experiencing the greatest time of any generation on Earth. It's time that we consider those around us, give space where it's needed, and be slow to judge others. It's only then that we can begin to choose truth over lies, and only then can we truly move beyond the noise.
Truly move beyond the noise. Phil's final candid thoughts.
I guess the one thing that really just plays on me and I can't seem to do anything about, regardless of how many lawsuits I file or how loud I scream at the top of my lungs from any mountaintop or how many posts I make on social media, the one thing that just really hurts is the effect that all of this defamation and vicious ridicule and the public disparagement, the effect that it has on my family is just something that I can never fully get over. I can never get around. And seeing the hurt in their faces and the emotional loss in my mom's eyes, in my dad's eyes. And these are people that know everything I've been through, and they know what's true and what's not true.
By the way, that goofy looking, it's called a quarter zip sweater that he's wearing. Is called the saltwater quarter zip from that company. It's called Vineyard Vines, which is like a higher end company for clothing. Not the one he's wearing right now, but the one he was wearing when he's sitting in his house. And I was like, I do not like the fucking turtleneck thing. It's like a $150, $200 shirt he's fucking wearing. $158, $160, something like that.
And yet I could still see it. I could still feel it. It's palatable in so many different ways.
I wear a bunch of old work shirts and a bunch of old vape shirts that I got for free. Phil's wearing a $200 shirt, just chilling in his house.
And I'll give you one tiny example of just a little bit, a sneak peek into just a little bit of what I'm trying to get across here. We recently had a family event, family vacation set up for later on this year.
This is the part. This is the part that's got some inaccuracies in it, and somebody else pointed them out to me today.
In which we were going to take our children, both my 2 boys and Carrie's 2 girls, as well as some other family members. And each of the kids got to invite one of their friends. And one of the friends that we invited, that was one of Carrie's daughter's friends. Upon the invite, the parents...
I heard about this. I didn't know this was a part of the film. I thought this was just him talking about it.
Of her best friend asked for the address of the property, which I would imagine just about any good parent.
What's Life is actually Scott Rogers in the chat, everybody. Welcome, Scott Rogers. No shirt, no pants, no problem.
Parent would do to know where their daughter's going to be located, especially because, it's far away. Upon looking up the address of the property, the parents of the girl...
If it's cashmere, if that quarter zip he's wearing is cashmere instead of the regular whatever fabric it was, it's $340. And they have it cashmere in that color, in that knit pattern. So you might be wearing a $350 fucking shirt.
I knew that this was a pretty big...
I'm just kidding.
Great. So
What Life?
The owners of the property, they wanted to make sure that the owners of the property were us and it wasn't some sort of...
Wait a second. So you're saying like you invited a friend over and they Googled the property to find the owners of the property. But wait, your houses are under LLCs. How did they find the owner of the property? In fact, they would be closer to finding not you, but let's say they did find the LLC. Both of the homes in Havasu are LLCs. Will not have shown in the search. But it's actually easier to find Jeremy and Tristan because they're the main parents for the fucking... Oh, they're the primary parents for the older daughter. Or Peyton. Like it would have been incredibly hard for them to find your name attached to any of them. Unless you bought it in that one LLC, Phil is on a minor or whatever that one LLC is. I can never remember the name of it. Phil is on a minor. That might have been scary. It's Phil's version of Amazon. Phil is on a minor.
Which I would imagine just about any good parent would do to know where their daughter's going to be located, especially because, it's far away. Upon looking up the address of the property, the parents of the girl knew that this was a pretty big property and the distance is great, so they looked up the owners of the property. They wanted to make sure that the owners of the property were us and it wasn't some sort of, any sort of maliciousness involved in the invite or anything like that. And I respect that. I think that's good parenting.
I do. Wildlife. I think that it's his pride and, his ego and everything that keeps him here. Right, that keeps him broadcasting, claiming, I'm never leaving, I'm going to be on top, I'm being a newscaster. I even think that after the election, he's going to try to spin this to like, I knew there'd be an election, I knew this was happening, and if Trump wins, he's going to say that wasn't a real election. They knew, they put him in there. He's owed this time because the last time. And if he loses, then he's got more ammo. If Trump loses, he's got more ammo to say they stole it again, and he's going to try to stay after that. But the reason he's investing in so much stuff is because in the back of his mind, he keeps thinking one day something's going to happen, something's going to crumble, something's going to whatever. And I just, I'll make a fake fucking Facebook account and that'll be the only social media I have. Right. I'll be John Smith and Carrie will be Jane Smith and we'll go on and live life. Most people won't find us.
However, when they looked up the owner,
it's not like he's going to be living a shitty life, right? He's bought everything. He's got everything. Just do that.
of the property, they had to find that I was one of the owners of the property. And of course, not only was it...
It would have been very hard to find that he was one of the owners of the property. That's how you put shit in LLCs, right?
Carrie, but it was also me. And the question then was, well, who is this guy? And first thing they did was take their inquiry to the internet, and they found Mr. Alvear's film.
Well, and it would have been even harder to find that. So if you type in Phil, I did this earlier because Nick said if you type in Phil Godlewski, the second thing that came up was his film right after the Daily Beast, but that's just not true. The Daily Beast article does come up, and then it's IMBD, LinkedIn, govinfo.gov, Phil Godlewski. I think Nick's popped up because he goes to his own website all the time. So Google remembers what you search and what you do. So Nick goes to Good Line Films all the time. They're going to suggest that you'd actually have to, if Nick wanted to figure this out for real, he'd actually have to do it from a new browser or in a new account or in incognito mode because it does not pull it up. It even pulls up Phil's Twitter before it pulls up the Independent, Rolling Stone, Houston Herald, Amazon Music, TikTok, Facebook, ProPublica, PPP loans, Boston, Massachusetts real estate, QAnon leader, there's one from Yahoo, the Daily Beast again, locals, Rumble, Justia, whatever. It just doesn't pull that up, like you said.
So
I see someone else did it and said I got the same results.
Needless to say, not only was that invite for vacation stopped, but
maybe Nick doesn't understand that he's got cookies attached. When you search the same thing multiple times, it remembers Google learns what you're looking for. So if I always misspell something, let's say I always look for Jeep Cherokee and I always misspell it, and as soon as I search Jeep Cherokee, I go to the YJ forums, which is like the 12th results, or the Cherokee forums. My Google, when I'm logged into my account on my computer, it'll start moving that result up because it knows what I want.
No longer allowed at our properties at all anymore, not even our local properties. And
are we getting after Michael Robertson's shirt?
It's because of me.
Probably never more than $500. Damn. All my shirts are basically free. I have a couple dress shirts. Obviously, I wear to funerals and weddings and stuff like that, but not a lot.
Having the little control that I have over the situation and I have over what people believe on their...
I've noticed, I think it's to save bandwidth, number 2. I've noticed a lot of stuff that I know I've searched in the past and had to dig through the results. When I get down to the bottom, especially on my phone, when I get down to the bottom, it says repetitive search results were omitted. Click here to perform the search with omitted results.
Their own, and the information that's fed to them that is fabricated, manipulated, defamatory, slanderous, all the adjectives you can think of and the descriptions you can think of. Having a little control that I have over it is the hardest part about this entire endeavor. there's no part of me that wouldn't trade anything in the world for the safety and the health, both physical and mental, of my children. And that goes for my two sons as well as my two stepdaughters. And to know that.
I don't know about Phil, but I would do some crazy shit for my kids. Like, I would do some crazy shit for my kids. I'm not even fucking joking. Like, if it come down to like, hey, I might spend the rest of my life in prison or die, but it was important enough for I would do some crazy fucking shit for my kids in a heartbeat.
Their relationships are already being affected by a film that we've proven in this film is defamatory, untrue, blatant disregard for facts. The little control I have over that will haunt me for the rest of my life. And there's so much damage that has already been done that can never be undone. For what? How do you take something like that away from a teenage girl, a friend, a relationship, potential memories? How do you reach in and say, you know what, I'm the arbiter of this now. I'm the one that's going to control what happens in their life. It's bad enough to come after me. It's far worse to go after children, indirectly or directly. And in this case, maybe Nick Alvear has done it indirectly. But how can't you know? How can't you see the ramifications?
I was watching some crazy podcaster last night, and he said he was asking if Epstein Island was still open. Not for kids, he clarified. It was wild.
For the fact. How can't something inside of you say, you know what, this is just too much. We can't proceed with this. Where is the humanity in knowing what your words could do to someone? And not just me. I've said this before, you could talk about me all day long until you're red in the face. And if what you're saying is true, I'll deal with it. I'll put on my big boy pants and.
If any of this, if any of this was true, and I believed Phil, it would be a shitty situation. But I don't believe it. I feel like the evidence is in the opposite direction. I feel like I believe the victim's testimony. I feel like I believe the Scranton Times did nothing wrong. Like I feel exactly the opposite. I feel like all the evidence supports. I'm not just gonna feel this way because I don't like somebody or whatever. Right? I feel like all the evidence supports the opposite narrative. But it would be a nightmare to have something follow you all along and you didn't even do anything.
Deal with whatever consequences or ramifications come from that. But when your words are affecting the future of so many people, especially that of children, how could you sit there and be okay with that, knowing what you're doing? How could any person think that that's okay? So those are the things that nobody sees. You know, everybody will see on social media or Telegram or another platform the posts that I make, you know, in defending myself, or the films that I make in this case, or the court documents that I post to prove myself against these allegations. But what you don't see is the behind the scenes stuff. What happens in the mind of that person's mother or father, or that person's daughter or son? You guys don't see that. You know, I see.
Sure. And he doesn't. He never cares about ramifications of anybody else. It's always about what's happening to Phil.
I'm the one that has to live with it. And the very least I could do is a film like this to set the record straight and just hope that there's enough discernment amongst the people that actually get to see this between what's true and what's untrue, and in this case blatantly untrue. So that's why I do the things that I do, and that's what's on my mind on a regular basis. And the thought of not being able to correct this record and not being able to defend and not being able to prevent the things that have already happened to my family because of this in just a couple months that it's been out, that's what this is all about for me.
Special thanks to my attorney, Jody Andrea, Carrie Godlewski, my kids, I love you all, my extended family, my followers and subscribers. Music's not so good when it's sped up. Executive producer, Phil Godlewski. Copyright 2024 at Quantum Films Production. Quantum Films. This is just the first one, boys. He's doing more. He's doing more. We'll have to go over where he cries next time. He tells them that you almost got me. I almost quit. I almost gave up. But which I don't even think is true. I think that's a good story, right? Like, you almost took me down, but I'm standing back up on this mountain because I'm a fighter, kind of, you know. I don't even think it's true, but definitely not the kill shot that we were all being told it was. And it definitely hasn't helped. It hasn't helped Bree any. It probably hasn't helped Nick's case any, if it does go to court. It hasn't helped Bert get out of this predicament. I wish it would. I've been cheering on Bert. At least he's not homeless anymore. But it hasn't helped Bert get out of this predicament at all. But we'll go over the one with him crying later. I'm gonna have to clip that and get the crying part or cover it. Damn it, Bert. cover it some other time. We're out of time. I wasted too much time talking about stupid shit and Jason Q's dick. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for the donations. I saw some donations come through. If you want to contribute to the show while we're offline, you're more than welcome to do that. Your donations keeps the show going. So if you like what we do, if you enjoy it, please consider going to coldbeer.fund and using one of the links on the left. The most popular one is honestly this like anonymous or not. It doesn't pop up on the screen one, the yellow button. But consider contributing to the show. That's how I pay the bills. That's how I'm here 7 days a week, which I think we're going to cut back that some, but that's still how we do the show. So thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. Don't do anything Phil would do because you'll probably just fuck it up. And we'll see everybody on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye. My voice did a little bit better, but I can already feel it getting scratchy.
If this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the fork and balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly.
Does a $500 shirt last longer than a $15 shirt?
Balls. You don't have balls.
Is there some type of longevity investment there?
Started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
What when a $500 shirt is worn out, do you cut it up for like rags and shit, or just throw it away, or you have a little ceremony, or what happens?
You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these
2 shirts that add up to $5. I got $250 a piece. Okay.
drums cocking, begging for a
You make a quilt for Bert.
he hammers like thong. He's
No, funny.
beating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex.
A little Jubert.
Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers, cause you told him if he did, he'd get.
All my shirts are gold leaf, so I know how it is. I actually use pure gold leaf as antiperspirants. So
That stage is set. You better buckle up.
everybody's giving Michael a hard time. I wear mine after they get holes in them if I'm working on this shirt I'm wearing right now has got a hole in it. I put shocks on the Jeep today.
Cause you ain't seen none yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to.
I lie and tell people I'm sponsored too by Magnum condoms.
Put on a light coat of baby
And when I run out of them, it's hefty trash bags.
on his shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. What are you doing? Stop. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. This is mom's an alcoholic. Give me oh my God.
I'm gonna try to get Jason Q a sponsorship from Hims and Rubbermaid totes. Let's see what happens.
You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit.
They're pretty good. I grow mushrooms in them.
Get the place in the beds, you know that state.
Lots of quaffing. That's right.
Cause you
Coughing it a little.
yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now
Have a good night, everybody.
and he was doing so well. It's all over, hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They rework and copy on Cox and
That's the point. If the oil is magnetic to pull out heavy metals, why wouldn't you just use a magnet?
all this
Like a magnet fishing magnet. You pull that shit out so goddamn quick, it'd fucking come out like razor blades.
parasites, his leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby eating heathens. Believing in reasons with no meaning is bullshit. Will Bird motherfuckers out here busting the grifts.
Busting them griffs.
Shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better